Live from Toronto, Canada, you're watching Forder Learn to Fly. And here's your host, Howard Forder.
How's it going, guys? For those who are new to the channel, just sort of stumbled upon us, I'm Howard of ForderLearnToFly. And the whole crew is behind me. Literally, right there behind me. And they're waiting in the wings, and they're going to jump in any minute. And we've got Heisenberg here to lead the fray. You know, this is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be the same content we had yesterday, but with all of this new stuff I have going on, new laptop for streaming and new sound system and new everything. Holy moly, what a mess. But, you know, we got it all sorted out. We've had meetings, we've had fun, and let's hope it goes nice and smooth today and no disruptions. We can focus on flying. So come fly with us. We'll put up the banner again on all the shortcuts. I think the only thing that doesn't work today is the groupie. I forgot to update that for today. That worked yesterday, but that's okay. We'll get going unless someone else wants to make a... Oh, the music was muffled, was it? Huh.
It was really quiet. It didn't sound muffled, but it sounded really quiet.
Okay. So
also, Andrew can't get his camera working.
So we'll have to... Oh, he can't get his camera working again. All right. Well, we'll figure it out. That's we'll get those things going. All right, and you guys, it was. I hope you heard the intro. That was ace. I encouraged him to finally record something like that. Holy, I couldn't go by without using that intro. And then, of course, the marching band in the theme of Aviation Week. It's actually this Wednesday is Orville Wright's birthday. But the president of the USA, I guess it was, could it be Roosevelt, you guys? I mean, you know, my history on presidents of the USA is kind of weak. He was the one who declared it. I think, Heisenberg, you've got some info on that. And we've got, you know, that's on this Wednesday. But we decided that since yesterday was a bit rough, we would just do this thing again. So let's go and hang out with the guys, and let's go flying, you guys. So we will go over to the main screen without any further ado. Let's go. And Heisenberg, welcome in. Welcome to the stream again. And you've got your tour guide papers nearby, so you can tell us more about where we are. We're on your screen in your aircraft. So, and I do want to welcome also the co-hosts. I see Ace up there now. Say hello, Ace.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, that sounds good in my speakers. And we've got Charlie with us. We've got Mike with us. Say hello, guys.
Hello, guys. How's everybody this weekend?
Say hello, Charlie. Hello, Charlie. And
hello, everybody.
There he is. Okay. And Paul just I just look at the chat now. I was like, wow. Let's see. And Andrew's got trouble still. Oh no. What was that of Ace? What? I'm going to rewind and watch the start of the stream. So I did an intro just before I came on in the classroom, where Ace introduces the host. And that was pretty cool with the marching band thing. Did you guys hear that? I mean, anyway, if that didn't come through right, it came through right on my speaker in my ears. If it comes through right here, then it should be going through right.
Yeah, it came through. It came through.
So, you know, we can play it again just so you can hear it because, you know, it's just so cool. You know what I mean? Flipper Alloy's here. Maddie Lynn is here. I'm streaming game footage through Discord. Cool. Game footage through Discord. Yeah, it's neat. So I can't pick that up right now because I got to set that up, and we'll talk about that tomorrow, Maddie Lynn. Maddie Lynn will be our lead next Saturday, guys. So, whoa, you got to tune in for that. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll talk with her tomorrow and make things start happening. All right, so there you see the banner. It says flight plan, route, server, aircraft. Type any of those shortcuts in chat and share those things, and we'll get going right away because we got a long way to go. Heisenberg, I'm handing it over to you while I manage anything in the background. All right, it's all yours.
Okay. So real quick, some information about the airport that we're starting at that I didn't mention yesterday because of the issues we were having. So originally, Wright Dayton Airport was known as Montgomery County Airport. Efforts to build the Montgomery County Airport had begun by late September 1954. So I'll just talk a little bit about the airport while everybody's taking off and getting on their way, and then I'll catch up. So efforts to build the Montgomery County Airport had begun by late September 1954, when articles of incorporation for an eponymous, I'm not even sure what that word means, but okay, company were filed. The development of the airport had been prompted by the closure of the South Dayton Airport and the subsequent attempts of the owners of now displaced aircraft to find a home. The company, run by Charles F. Kettering, purchased the first approximately 17 acres of a planned 345-acre airport in early January of 1955. Construction of the airport and a 5,000-foot northeast-southwest runway began in early September. By the time it opened, it was owned by a consortium of local companies. By the end of 1958, a 19,600 square foot hangar was under construction, and consideration was being given to adding 36 T hangars. The Dayton Pilots Club, founded in February of 1958, was based at the airport by November of 1959. Southern Ohio Aviation picked up the lease for the airport in late April of 1960. The company became regional distribution for the Naval Rangemaster in late December 1961 and a worldwide interior customization center for the Aero Commander just over a week later. By early February 1965, it was acting as a distributor for the Jet Commander as well, and purchased one of the aircraft for itself in August of 1966 to operate a jet charter service. By mid-1969, the city of Dayton was contemplating the establishment of a network of local airports. As the first part of this program, it initially moved to purchase the airport from the Kettering Foundation, but as negotiations were ongoing, the approach to lease it changed. The airport would then be subleased to the fixed base operator, Southern Ohio Aviation, and the profit used to improve the infrastructure, with the goal of ultimately enabling it to act as a reliever for Cox Municipal Airport. It took over operation at the beginning of November of 1970, but by October of the following year, the assets of Southern Ohio Aviation had been seized by the IRS for unpaid taxes. This is like a recurring theme with this airport. No one pays their dues or taxes, and it keeps changing hands. One of the things I found out. In 1972, a Chamber of Commerce sponsored event called General Aviation Day was held at the airport for the first time. The city acquired the airport outright on the 11th of January 1974, and the name Dayton General Airport South, selected in a contest, was applied to the facility at Aviation Day in mid-September. However, this was the last time the event would be held at the airport mid-September. Due to growing interest and insufficient parking capacity. It was combined with a one-off open house at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and moved to the Dayton Municipal Airport in 1975 to become the Dayton Air Fair. The following month, it was learned that the airport failed to receive a federal grant to pay for, in part, the installation of a VOR DME. The two fixed base operators, Flightways and Dayton Aviation, announced January 1975 that they would be merging with the latter, becoming a subsidiary of the former. Paid for with municipal bonds, a 35,000 square foot administration building and hangar were dedicated in late 1976. The airport was approved to purchase 345 acres of land and extend a taxiway by August 1960. This was followed by the announcement of a project to equip the airport with an instrument landing system 2 months later. In late January 1981, the city began efforts to evict Flightways for lack of payment of rent. 2 months later, the runway lights stopped working and the contract for a taxiway extension had not been awarded, but the city was unable to proceed with the eviction as the company was under bankruptcy protection. The Wright B. Flyer Inc. Incorporated was gifted land at the airport by Dayton in late December of 1984 to build a hangar. Warren County's approval for the annexation of land near the airport to Springboro in 1985 raised concerns that residential development could threaten the airport. The airport was connected to the city sewer system in 1988. North Coast Executive Airlines began serving the airport in February of 1990, but filed for bankruptcy just under a year later. By mid-May 1990, a 7,000 square foot hangar for the Wright B. Flyer was almost complete. A proposal to build a housing development at the south end of the airport in September of 1992 was met with opposition by Dayton due to its proximity to the runway. By 1994, the airport was considering closing its shorter runway and establishing a fly-in community. The facility was due to be renamed Dayton Wright Brothers Airport in December 1995. In 1997, the Commander Aero, a service center for the Aero Commander aircraft, moved from the Greene County Airport to the Silver Hangar at the airport and renovated the dilapidated structure. The city was due to reach a deal with the YMCA in March of 1999 for a land swap that exchanged property at the south end of the runway and elsewhere for a parcel on which the latter could construct a new location. At the same time, the development of a nearby subdivision called Settlers Walk agreed to implement an easement to prevent complaints from future residents about the airport. The athletic facility was nearing completion by December, but the FAA had denied a church authorization to construct a building nearby. By October 2001, a project to repave the runway, enlarge the ramp, build a hangar access road, and install a PAPI system for runway 2 was almost finished. Planning to create a joint economic development district began in March of 2004. A 12,000-foot hangar was under construction at the airport in January of 2005. 2 months later, the airport was rezoned from agricultural and light industrial to airport to allow for increased commercial services. A proposal to move Austin Pike at the north end of the airport slightly farther from the end of the runway was made in March of 2008. In 2009, the airport received $150,000 to conduct a pavement management study. In February of 2010, the city announced it would open proposals for commercial development on 150 acres of land at the airport later that month. However, a fatal crash that at the start of the next month brought criticism from the community. The airport began holding an event called Runway Fest in 2012. It was again proposed in September 2014 that the since renamed Austin Boulevard be relocated further north to accommodate a potential 500-foot runway extension. The Connor Group built a 17,000 square foot hangar at the airport in 2018. Planned construction of 2 new approximately 7,200 square foot hangars was announced in 2019. A developer agreed to purchase 170 acres of airport property in August of 2020. In 2022, the airport received over $1 million from the Federal Aviation Administration to complete infrastructure upgrades. Funds were focused on mitigating wildlife hazards at the airport. A new private hangar was under construction in December of 2024. Higher Ground Helicopters submitted a zoning request in May 2026 to build an 8,000 square foot hangar. So the airport seen some rough times over the years, but seems to have overcome a lot of the issues that it had. And the key point here, what I took away was that there's the Wright Flyer B is housed at one of the hangars here. So it's probably the coolest thing about this airport.
And Eisenberg, I didn't catch that. Could you repeat that for me?
Sure. Where do you want me to start, buddy?
Right from the beginning.
That's very interesting.
Start over again.
I missed that yesterday. So that's very cool.
Yeah, I didn't.
So much rich history.
Yeah, I didn't bring it, but yeah, there's a lot of up and down, and I'm thinking it's probably typical of what some of these smaller airports go through, right, throughout their lifetime. Things, certain things are approved. It switches hands multiple times. People don't pay their rent. People, they don't pay their taxes. People get evicted. Hangars are built, torn down, replaced. I mean, so many different things. It's a wonder that as many of these airports that are these smaller airports are remain operational, considering the costs and what it actually takes to keep it running and going, and actually add equipment. I mean, you don't think about it. Okay, VOR DME. It's something that you pretty much want to have at your airport to make it prosper and grow, right? And if you can't get that, then you don't grow. Same thing with PAPI system, and it's a struggle apparently to get all of these types of equipment onto your field, right? And you've got to worry about residential areas. If you want to extend a runway, are you going to are you going to upset the people that live close to where that runway is going to end up being? So there's a lot of things that come into play when you're managing an airport or trying to grow an airport. But luckily, it seems that this one is here to stay for a while, and is finally gotten through some of the issues that it's had, and is actually growing and being funded. And it's a good thing to see these airports continue to grow and prosper for pilots.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to take off now, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Wright brothers as soon as I get on my way here.
So while he's getting on his way, you guys, don't forget, let's spawn in. You can see right beside me there. I'm looking right at it right now. KMGY is where we're starting, and we're heading all the way over to First Flight Airport, and that's a lot of history there. We want to look around. Those of you who were with us on Saturday saw that already. It was a nice surprise that in the built-in scenery we can see the original flight area. We can see milestones, actual stones sitting in the ground of their different attempts, and the visitor center and all that stuff that's going on there. And it's built into the scenery. It's kind of cool. So that's what we've got, the prize at the end of the journey. But we've got to get going. We got a lot of ground to cover here. So let's get in the air and get rolling. Appreciate Dayton while we're here and all of that history. Unbelievable how many people changed hands and defaulted on payments and all the rest that goes on back in those days. And the band still played on. So
I wish,
so strap on an airplane as fast as you can get, and let's go, everybody.
I kind of wish there was some scenery for this airport, Howard, because the hangar with the Wright B flyer has a cool picture depicted on the side of it. So I wish someone. I looked all over flightsim.to and I couldn't find any scenery for this airport, which is weird because it has some history, and the Wright flyers housed here. You would think someone would have developed something.
Well, I did show the picture of it while you were talking. You probably didn't see it because your head was down, but
yep.
So I gave them
I see it. Yep.
That's the actual photograph that you supplied in your document. So I give them an idea what that looks like. If you're ever there, you'll know it because it's all over the side of the hangar, right?
I tried to figure out which one of these hangars that could possibly be, but I can't, based on the imagery, figure out which one it actually is here.
Mike's on his way, already taxiing out. And we see Charlie's on his way at the hold short. Lots of you waiting there.
Y'all can go ahead of me. I'm having engine trouble.
I see that. You got to charge your battery. It's getting low.
Yeah.
And let's see how Andrew's doing. He's not with us yet. I hope he gets it figured out. Poor guy's having troubles with his system. Don't we know what that's like yesterday? All that stress, and now we can fly stress-free. So you guys,
some of us,
Ace of Spades, Charlie, a bunch of you, Mike, all got together and we figured out what was going on with my system. And, between network cables and other things that I could have easily figured out, they helped me figure it all out. So it was a team effort. We got things rolling again, and we think things will go smooth from here. Well, let's hope so. And that's what we want. Every stream, we want it to be smooth as silk. Audio quality okay, music when we need it, and just enjoy the flight, you guys. So hope sit back and enjoy, and speak up and chat and say hi. Strap says, my mama says hi. If you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything. Okay, so something to do with Mike, right? I'm going to guess it's something to do with Mike.
Hey, Howard, do you see my manifold pressure gauge? There's something wrong with my plane.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, it's a little nervous.
What's it doing?
Low thrust.
It's it's really jittery.
You probably need to clean your plugs.
That's
if you're in the
that's on your left
plugs?
engine. Yeah.
Yeah, you probably need to clean your plugs.
See, this is you wanted to fly the Pro. This is the Baron Pro, and it's gonna act like real.
Run up is so crucial.
Yeah, the run up. That's when you see all this stuff, right? Yeah, it is right. You're so right, Mike. In real life too, right? So we'll move over to Mike's. He's got no trouble on his machine at all, right?
Oh, now you just jinxed me.
No, you got rock solid needles. You know, no one's ever said that to you before, Mike. You got rock solid needles, man.
And quite a crosswind, 21 knot crosswind.
Is that right?
So my left engine was at 3% health.
Ooh, that's not good.
There you go. And the
They
needle
put a
didn't know what to
mid-air
do.
repair on it.
And Paul's here tonight too, you guys. He's also a lead pilot on Saturdays, and he'll be coming up again in a few weeks. As we go through the rest of the month, let's just see if I've got Paul here on my radar, and then I can go pick him up. How about that guy? That's not Paul. Says it's Paul, but it's not Paul. Okay, we didn't test that ahead of time. I'll find you, Paul. Don't worry. For now, I'm going to focus on these guys. I've got them in my sights. And it looks like, hey, Ace, it looks like you're in here too. Look at you go, man.
Oh, I'm in here.
He's in
I'm
here.
just getting my plane up and running.
That's cool.
Seven.
What are you flying? Ooh.
Trouble with my
Ooh.
Duckworks mod, but I got it sorted.
Does that look like a DC-3?
That's a DC-3.
Yeah, look at that, you guys. And Paul, I'll get to your stream. No worries, man. And we'll figure it out. I'm just focusing on making everything work. And I'll poke around and find your feed in here. It's probably going to be called something, you know, esoteric, like Guest 7 or something. You know, like that. There we go. You're Guest 7. You don't have your own name yet, Paul. We'll give you one, man. You're a VIP, so we'll get you a name. All right, now I know which one's yours. Okay. And you're on your way in a fast jet. You're going to get there before us, and you can show us around. Okay. Frank Liver says, hey, what's going on? Look, man, oh man. Yeah, we're doing the same thing we did on Saturday, but only we're doing it right this time, you guys, and it's all on me. The buck stops here. I'm the producer and the host, and I messed up big time yesterday. We had all kinds of troubles, and so we managed to salvage the stream, but it really was distracting. Today we're doing the whole thing and just having a ball. We got it figured out. Let's hope. All right, so back to Heisenberg. Let's see if he's fixed it. Well, he's in the air. It's got to be fixed.
Do you see that smoke out in front of me, Howard? That looks like it might be a fire or something?
Yeah, I think it's Mike. Are you okay, Mike? Can someone send a helicopter out?
I'm good so far.
So you guys, I want to mention, you'll see me looking towards the rest of the guys, like on screen instead of to the camera. And that's because my leg is propped up. I'm doing it right this time so that I keep ice and keep elevated, you know, because my knee operation. So just don't mind me if I'm not looking straight at the camera, because then I have to really crank around to see you guys. But I'm not the focus today, you guys. The focus is Heisenberg and the team and where we're flying and what we're talking about. All right. So let's go now to just looking to see if Andrew's online yet. Poor guy's having trouble. Yep, he's not online yet. Reboot, Andrew. Complete reboot, man. That's what did it for me. Everybody's flying the Baron. What's with that? What's that got to do with aviation week back in the 20s and 30s? And what's going on?
It's fast.
Because it flies a little
fast,
further
right?
than
Yeah,
right
that's what it is, because it's fast, right? Yeah, that's got to be it, yeah. Andrew says, done that twice. Oh, man, that is so frustrating, isn't it? So Andrew's going through the stress that I went through yesterday, you guys. And that was not fun at all. When things don't work and there's a crowd and you're just like, we've been doing this for years. Andrew and I both of us have been doing this for 5 and 6 years now. Matter of fact, next month is my 6th-year anniversary. I started streaming a month after Flight Simulator 2020 came out, and we got to celebrate one of those days. I'm going to figure out which day it is. It could be the 20th or something. We got to do just a celebration day. We survived 6 years streaming, you know.
Yeah, for some reason
it's a long haul.
For some reason, his computer really has a hard time allowing him to use his camera in the browser.
But I thought he was using NVIDIA Broadcast. No,
he is, but it's not showing up when he has no cameras to choose from. I guess when he's trying to join VDO for some reason. I have not had this. I have not seen this problem with anybody else. But yeah, it's weird. I don't know how to solve it.
Mandy Lynn's flying the PC-12, you guys.
So Strap says Mike is not the focus. Heisenberg is.
So
No
good.
pressure.
It's so good.
All right, one engine on.
That's a good sign, Ace. You got one engine on. That's a good sign. Andrew says, worked fine yesterday. Yeah, no kidding. Well, I could say the same thing too, Andrew. I mean, we did a stream Thursday night and it seemed everything worked with the overlay. And then Saturday came, right? Wow. Mamma mia. So, that's one for the records, that's for sure. Hello, I got to see Sally B today. And what an amazing plane. Only one in Europe. Briggsy, look what the stuff you get to do. The rest of us just drool. You know what I mean? Wow. Tell us about Sally B, Briggsy. Tell us about Sally B. Some of you know exactly what you're talking about. Not everybody in chat will know what you're talking about. Paul says no echoes. Yeah, we worked on that. I had to pull my engineer friend in to see what's going on, and he showed up and it just worked. That's how it goes, you guys, when you're that good.
2 engines on.
2 engines. How many you got? Oh yeah, you only got 2. Yeah, DC-3, right? I love the DC-3. That's one awesome plane. That was the first surprise I had on YouTube, you guys. I had done a lesson made just for YouTube. It was one of those 1.5 hour or 2 hour lessons, with chapters. And I published it on YouTube way back when, in 2020. And I couldn't believe the response, something like 19,000 views. It's like, what? Because of the plane. It's the interest of the specific airplanes, right? They don't know who I was, and they just like, oh, there's somebody who went through it. And amazing. And the good comments that came through on that, on like, wow, how'd you land that thing? So, the DC-3 is such a big milestone in aviation for sure. And they're still flying today. I remember out of Oshawa, I was taxiing out in a 172 and I was just told, hold short. We've got a DC-3 coming in. What? We got a what coming in? So that was cool. And of course I had to get my camera out, my CFI beside me rolling his eyes going, yeah, here goes the tourist part of Howard, right? I'm going to get my camera out when a DC-3 goes by, right?
Oh, this is going to be bad with this crosswind.
Uh-oh. So just take the crosswind out of it, You know what I mean?
So you got to put his camera on, Howard. His show Ace.
Yeah, he says it's going to be bad. That's a cue right there. Let me find him here. Hold on. I got to find him. He's right here behind Mike. Okay, got it.
Yeah, it was about a 20 knot, 60-degree.
It a tail dragger.
Oh,
yeah.
You can lock it. You know that, Ace, right? You remember?
I am locked.
Okay, you got your tail wheel locked. Okay,
yeah.
You're good. So, Panoman, you got the right idea. He took off from the grass, which is what they did back in the day, you guys. Couldn't stay on the runway with a crosswind. So you do the grass. And, typically your plane would weather vane into the wind anyway, right? And, see some of those movies.
Once you get off the ground, yeah.
See some of the movies where the, like 20 Spitfires are taking off from a field. They just point into wind and go, right? So as we go along, you guys, I want to ask you in chat, how's the audio sound? Is it distorted, muffled, anything like that? We want to know. We're fine-tuning now. We got things rock solid. And we just want to make sure things are working okay. Ace, you just aced that, man. There's a reason why they call you Ace of Spades.
Yeah.
That was all the left rudder I could give.
Is that right? Is that what you did there? Because
Oh,
it was awesome. That was a great takeoff. Oh my gosh, that was awesome.
That was nice.
Okay, thanks for that, Srap and Super Ty, the rest of you who helped me with sound issues or whether there's something wrong. You guys mentioned there was something muffled about the music at the start. My headset
seemed just like it was really quiet.
My earbuds, they tell me exactly what's going out on stream, so I didn't hear that in my earbuds, but I better pay attention, yeah.
When I switched over to stream audio, it was like quieter for the stream than it was for even us in the room.
Oh
here.
wow, because you guys are set for low for your room, yeah. Okay, quieter on the stream. Okay, I'll figure it out.
We're learning a bunch of new equipment and stuff, guys. We're working on
it's fine tuning now. Can you tell I'm happier now? I'm happier, you guys. You see me? This is happy. When the stream works, you guys deserve to have a quality stream after all these years, right? All right, let me go find the music part and just make sure we're on track there. And let's get us some accompanying music. And Heisenberg, it's all yours, man. You jump in anytime. We just fill the spaces.
All right. Yep. We'll go ahead and talk about the Wright Flyer. So 1903, first flight. In 1899, Wilber and Orville Wright had been scientifically experimenting with the concepts of flight. They labored in relative obscurity while the experiments of Samuel Langley of the Smithsonian were followed in the press and underwritten by the War Department. Yet Langley, as others before him, had failed to achieve powered flight. They relied on brute power to keep their theoretically stable machine aloft, sending along a hapless passenger and hoping for the best. It was the Wrights' genius and vision to see that humans would have to fly their machines, that the problems of flight could not be solved from the ground. In Wilber's words, "It is possible to fly without motors, but not without knowledge and skill." With over 1,000 glides from atop Big Kill Devil Hill, the Wrights made themselves the first true pilots. These flying skills were a crucial component of their invention. Before they ever attempted powered flight, the Wright brothers were masters of the air. Their glider experiments on the Outer Banks of North Carolina, though frustrating at times, had led them down the path of discovery. Through those experiments, they had solved the problem of sustained lift, and more importantly, they could now control an aircraft while in flight. The brothers felt they were now ready to truly fly, but first the Wrights had to power their aircraft. Gasoline engine technology had recently advanced to where its use in airplanes was feasible. Unable to find a suitable lightweight commercial engine, the brothers designed their own. It was cruder and less powerful than Samuel Langley's, but the Wrights understood that relatively little power was needed with efficient lifting surfaces and propellers. Such propellers were not available, however. Scant relevant data could be derived from marine propeller theory. Using their air tunnel data, they designed the first efficient airplane propeller, one of their most original and purely scientific achievements. Returning to their camp at the Kill Devil Hills, they mounted the engine on the new 40-foot, 605-pound Flyer with double tails and elevators. The engine drove two pusher propellers with chains, one crossed to make the props rotate in opposite directions to counteract the twisting tendency in flight. A bulky engine and broken propeller shafts slowed them until they were finally ready on December 14th. In order to decide who would fly first, the brothers tossed a coin. Wilber won the coin toss, but lost his chance to be the first to fly when he oversteered with the elevator after leaving the launch rail. The Flyer climbed too steeply, stalled, and dove into the sand. The first flight would have to wait on repairs. 3 days later, they were ready for the second attempt. The 27-mile-per-hour wind was harder than they would have liked, since their predicted cruising speed was only 30 to 35 miles per hour. The headwind would slow their ground speed to a crawl, but they proceeded anyway. With a sheet, they signaled to the volunteers from the nearby life-saving station that they were about to try again. Now it was Orville's turn. Remembering Wilbur's experience, he positioned himself and tested the controls. The stick that moved the horizontal elevator controlled climb and descent. The cradle that he swung with his hips warped the wings and swung the vertical tails, which in combination turned the machine. A lever controlled the gas flow and airspeed recorder. The controls were simple and few, but Orville knew it would take all his finesse to handle the new and heavier aircraft. At 10:35 a.m., he released the restraining wire. The Flyer moved down the rail as Wilber steadied the wings. Just as Orville left the ground, John Daniels from the life-saving station snapped the shutter on a preset camera, capturing the historic image of the airborne aircraft with Wilber running alongside. Again, the Flyer was unruly, pitching up and down as Orville overcompensated with the controls, but he kept it aloft until it hit the sand about 120 feet from the rail, into the 27-mile-per-hour wind. The ground speed had been 6.8 miles per hour for a total airspeed of 34 miles per hour. The brothers took turns flying 3 more times that day, getting a feel for the controls and increasing their distance with each flight. Wilbur's second flight the fourth and last of the day was an impressive 852 feet in 59 seconds. This was the real thing, transcending the powered hops and glides others had achieved. The Wright's machine had flown, but it would not fly again. After the last flight, it was caught by a gust of wind, rolled over, and damaged beyond easy repair. With the flying season over, the Wrights sent their father a matter-of-fact telegram reporting the modest numbers behind their epochal achievement. So one of the things I got from what I learned about this flight was that the Wright brothers had a better understanding of the different aerodynamic forces that would be placed on the plane and that they would need to understand in order to actually be able to fly and control a plane. It kind of understand how the others that were trying to do what they were doing had failed because they didn't have the same understanding of the principles of flight that Wilber and Orville did.
So while you're pausing there, Heisenberg, you were talking about how he used his hips to move things. You can see right in there, there's a bracket sitting right there, right around his hips, right there in the mid of his body. And there's also a wooden platform back by his feet. And when you actually move stuff in the sim, this is from the sim, you guys, and you move stuff in the sim, for instance, if I move my rudder pedals, typically you'd see things moving. I just thought maybe we'd see it moving. Nope. With the elevator at the front, right? And this is the way they flew that first. Look at him. He's lying down. There's the engine they built themselves. You imagine building your own engine? And that engine actually powers... You can fly this in the sim if you want, you guys. That engine powers 2 propellers. There's one there. You can see the chain linkage at the back. And when it's running, you actually see that chain linkage actually working. This is at First Flight Airport, you guys. Our destination. That's what we're going to see.
I'm curious. So the second flyer that they put together, obviously it had wheels and a seat. I wonder if they still used wing warping to control to manipulate the wings. I didn't research that particular flyer. I'm curious what improvements they made other than what you could actually notice from looking at the plane itself. I don't believe it had flaps or anything like that, but
no flaps, and there's no visible aileron, so that they obviously did this. Obviously, is a wing warping thing also, which is fascinating, So attempt to fly this thing, you guys, and it's the biggest challenge in history. This is the place to do it. And as you'll see when we get here to the destination, you'll see markers on how far they got with each successive flight. And we can actually try and see if we can do the same thing. It would be always cool, wouldn't it? There's the markers back there. We'll see them closer when we come to this destination. There's 1, 2, and 3 behind us. So we'll see that when we get there, you guys. But this is just amazing how they pulled this off. These guys, they had a bicycle shop. You saw that in one of the photos that I was showing you earlier. I think it was this one here. Maybe not that one. Yeah. This one here, you can see in the bottom right corner. There's their bicycle shop. All the wheels are sitting there, and there they are. And so they knew about wheels and chains and propelling with your feet. And certainly it was a perfect match for them to start putting stuff together. As you can see up here in the upper corner, there's no wheels on that thing, so, and eventually they put wheels on, of course, and they kept going. There's a really nice timeline here, stuff that you've been talking about there, Heisenberg, and we've got
it's incredible because they had to create a propeller. They tried to they researched boat propellers, which were completely different than what's required. So they used
Right.
a wind tunnel. They knew enough that they created their own wind tunnel to make a propeller that would push the airplane along. So.
So is has the music in the background too loud, you guys, or just right? Give us an idea. We're just doing the first time round. We're making sure things are okay, and then we know where our markers are. And it is a bicycle chain to the propellers. It really is. Oh, you can't hear it, Paul. Okay. Oh, you can't hear it. I'm enjoying it. It's great. Hmm.
What are you flying, Howard? Are you flying the DC-3 again?
No, I'm just being the publisher, and I'm just doing the producing stuff in the background. I'm supplying slides and going to the site. I'll change over to this the St. Louis in a minute when you start talking about that. So I'm going to do the support stuff here. I don't want to get distracted by flying. On Saturday, I flew the DC-3 and just love it. But Ace is doing that today, so.
Trying to catch up.
There should be some really good big band stuff from the 40s and 50s in there. You guys hear it in stream? It's pretty decent volume in my headset. Oh, it could be because some of the airplane sounds are probably a bit loud here. Hold on. I got Aces up halfway. That might be better.
No, for some reason it is extremely quiet in chat.
Howard, did you want to play the video that kind of shows like every event that I talk about is from that video that I put together so that people
You bet.
see.
I was just waiting for the cue on that, but I'll cue it
go
up.
ahead. Yep.
So here's one for you, Charlie. Since that last sim update, and I had to reset my Toby profile again, I have the pitch, yaw, and roll working fine. But as far as like if I lean forward and back, like my position is not changing.
There is a particular setting for that.
Yeah, but I've got them turned on, and it doesn't seem to matter.
Because that's working fine for me. Whenever I set it to default camera view, it shows me looking a little bit to the right. And eventually it goes away. But
I'm curious what your settings are relative to mine.
I'll send you, I've got a screenshot of it, I'll send it to you. By the way, I thought Andrew was in. I see his face on camera, but it's not moving. So, Andrew, are you there?
He looks very focused at the moment. To answer that, Andrew, you're gonna have to say something so I can see you pop up on stream. Then I'll let you know if you need to reverse something, or I can just do it for you. Charlie, did you send that?
Not yet. Just about to.
So if you, Ace and Charlie, if you want to troubleshoot with Andrew, I can turn that volume down on stream. You guys can talk away all you want if you wish.
Okay.
No, I see Andrew in the group, but he hasn't moved. I don't know if he has a static image thing going or what right now, and I haven't heard him say anything.
I'll just fade them out. We'll go watch the movie, you guys, that Heisenberg made for us. And let's go see that in action right here. And I'll let her roll. Let's see if the audio comes out. No audio. Okay. Oh, there's audio. It's not up loud enough. Might be a bit takes your breath away. Way to go, Heisenberg. Awesome, man. That was awesome. Great job. I wish I had my applause track. You guys show your appreciation, throw your emotes on the screen or applaud, and great job. Thanks, Maddie. It's great. Very little audio. Yeah, Strap, I had it cranked right up. I could see the VU meters weren't working so well. So that's the one thing we'll have to figure out for some reason. Very well done, though. Heisenberg, did you are you making that available anywhere, like YouTube or somewhere? Oh, just a minute. I had everybody turned down.
Flight plan.
There we go. Say that again. I had everybody turned down because they were troubleshooting Andrew. Go ahead. Say
Hello, testing. Hello. Can
Yep.
you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, I put a link to it in the flight plans folder on Discord.
Beautiful. You guys go see it because it's really powerful with that cinematic build in the music and the bass of the music. I could hear it here fully. It was beautiful. I was having a good time with it.
So basically, what I'm talking about during our flight to our final destination are the different events that I've depicted in the video. So we've discussed the Wright brothers, and they're this is pretty much how. I mean, even though there were attempts at flight, and there were flights before the Wright brothers, uncontrolled. There were balloons. There were kites. I mean, 1,000 years earlier, the Chinese were flying kites, and it goes way back. Their accomplishment is kind of what pushed things forward, because now we had powered flight, and you could control the airplane, which was a pivotal accomplishment. The next event that I talk about is on the Curtiss Flying Jennies, the JNs. They were crucial in the next advancement of flight. So let's get started on that one. So Curtiss Flying Jennies pursue Pancho Villa across northern Mexico. At 4:30 on the morning of March 9th, 1916, the sound of gunfire echoed through the streets of Columbus, New Mexico, a border settlement of adobe houses, a bank, a post office, and a few stores surrounded by cactus, mesquite, and rattlesnakes. Men on horseback, led by the renegade Pancho Villa, swarmed through the streets, looting, killing, burning, and shouting, "Viva Villa! Death to the gringos!" As darkness gave way to dawn, the Villistas disappeared back into the Chihuahua Hills, leaving behind 19 American dead and a town in smoldering ruins, an action that led directly to the first use of U.S. military aircraft over foreign territory. In response to Villa's raid, President Woodrow Wilson ordered General John J. Blackjack Pershing to form a punitive expedition and bring the renegade to justice. The general's aide-de-camp was Second Lieutenant George S. Patton, a 30-year-old West Pointer. Everyone knows who George Patton is, right?
Who's George Patton? I'll ask from a Canadian point of view for chat. I'm asking for a friend.
He was a floral arranger.
It was a what?
Floral arranger.
Floral arranger. Oh, no.
At one time, he was a traffic cop.
Before he became general.
Oh, wow.
No, that was when he was general directing traffic.
Okay.
with all the tanks and trucks going through France. One time, he actually directed traffic for a little bit.
Okay, come on.
Or so the story goes.
Come on, American friends, fill us in more. Come on, the history you guys learned in school. We didn't learn about Patton in Canadian school. He made fabrics. He took plain fabrics and added a pattern. Oh my gosh.
So, all right, back to the Flying Jennies. So, air power to the rescue. Aware of the effectiveness of airplanes in World War I, then raging in Europe, John Pershing requested the support of the 1st Aero Squadron for mail and communications, aerial photography, and the observation of enemy forces, as well as of advanced parties of the expedition. So at this point, planes were not used for fighting, right? They were used for communication, observation, things like that. They did mount they did mount guns on a couple of the Jennies in the when they were flown during the war, but for the purposes of this expedition, they were used primarily to send mail back and forth between the field and command and things like that. So the squadron consisted of 8 Curtiss NJ-2s, the famous Flying Jennings, 11 pilots, 82 enlisted men, 10 trucks, and 1 civilian mechanic. Even back then, APs weren't getting any love, apparently. The Flying Jennies had low, rakish lines, staggered wings, instrument panels, a long, deep, narrow fuselage, and a wicker seat for an observer. 3 days after the Via raid, Pershing ordered the 1st Aero Squadron to proceed by rail to Columbus. The men disassembled the planes and loaded them onto flat cars. Captain Benjamin Follis, leader of the expedition, 10 pilots, 82 enlisted men, and 1 civilian mechanic, and 2 hospital corpsmen, boarded a Southern Pacific train for the front. Upon arrival in Columbus, Follis, now I'm sure I'm destroying his name, Captain Follis, flew a 30-mile sortie into Mexico, the first by a U.S. military aircraft over foreign territory. South of the border, Mexico lay in anarchy, torn into factions by a civil war, one of the bloodiest in history. In the northern state of Chihuahua, Pancho Villa, the last of the warlords, roamed freely, looting and killing. Complex and controversial, Villa was a fighter with an instinctive grasp of guerrilla tactics. The local campesinos called him Tiger of the North. Their Robin Hood, because he stole from rich landowners and foreign mining interests, rustled cattle, and distributed the spoils to the desperately poor peons. Villa understood their plight. He too was born a peon into the feudal hacienda system, illegitimate, illiterate, but with a charismatic personality. On the afternoon of March 19th, Pershing ordered the 1st Aero Squadron to proceed to Casas Grandes at once for immediate air reconnaissance service, 120 miles south of the border. Taking the at once seriously, Captain Follis ordered the squadron to take off, even though it was late afternoon. The men were dismayed. None had flown at night, nor had they any idea where Casas Grandes was. They had no maps, no reliable compass, and no lights to read the instrument panel. The only information they had was that the landing field would be lit by fires. Follis ordered the pilots to follow the plane ahead of you, which meant that if the lead plane got lost, the one following it would get lost too. One plane, piloted by a Lieutenant Walter Mike Kilner, unable to gain altitude, returned to Columbus. The mechanics worked through the night, installing a new engine. At dawn, Kilner again took off and landed 2 hours later at Casas Grandes, the first of the 8 planes to arrive. Only 6 others eventually made it to their destination. The last pilot to arrive did so on foot. So basically, the guy whose plane broke and they spent all night replacing the engine was the first one to get to the destination. The others had all kinds of issues. The one pilot that ended up walking into Casas Grandes, he ran out of gas. He landed in the middle of the desert. Someone picked him up in a truck. One of the locals in the area saw him, picked him up, and took him to town to get some fuel. They got back to the plane, and the plane had been taken apart. Pieces had been taken off, stolen. It was in pieces. So he had no choice but to get to his destination on foot. On March 22nd, Fullis and another, Jenny, tried to locate American cavalry moving south. En route, they reached the pass but could not get the 90 horsepower Jennies over the mountains. The next morning, 3 other planes located the missing cavalry and landed. They did not return for 3 days due to high winds and blowing dust. In a report to Washington, Fullis requested reequipment of the squadron, including engines with 125 to 160 horsepower, spare engines, wings, landing gear, radiators, and magnetos. The reply came back that all airplanes available for service were already with the Pershing expedition. So the terrain, that area was mountainous, and it was not the Jennies were not suited to fly across those mountains, and yet they were still provided a valuable service to the men that were on the ground, actually the cavalry, as far as getting information back and forth and position and location and stuff like that. Jenny's accomplishments propelled big advancements. From the perspective of the 1st Aero Squadron, the punitive expedition was a milestone in the development of military aircraft. While the Jennies were inadequate for reconnaissance in the mountains of Chihuahua, their accomplishments were many. Flying 348 hours on 540 missions, covering more than 19,533 miles, performing reconnaissance over territory unsuitable for cavalry or infantry, and beginning the first military aerial route by delivering thousands of letters to and from Pershing's troops without a single fatality. So the area ahead of us, folks, is a bit mountainous. You're going to want to climb to 6,000 feet to get over the terrain that's coming up.
It looks like we have some weather too if you're on live weather.
Yeah. Yep. There's some weather ahead,
Yep.
so
Probably left over from yesterday.
So I'll take this opportunity to say, welcome, Andrew. You're in. You figured it all out. Way to go. Teamwork, you guys.
I got no idea what I did. I just started to uninstall and reinstall, uninstall, reinstall, turn the computer off, uninstall, reinstall, try it over here. Suddenly it was working, so I have no idea why.
So if anybody else has troubles, we'll send them to you. Welcome aboard. Glad to see your face, my friend.
And I wish I knew what it was I did, but I have no idea.
But you're here now. And as Heisenberg talks about...
Suddenly there was the thing. It's like, oh, okay, quick. Or changes his mind.
As Heisenberg talks about some of the planes along the way, and I'm sure you should jump in and tell us some information that you have too.
Yeah. Well, I'll throw the comment I had yesterday with the as far as the Jenny. It is actually in the sim, so if anybody wants to try flying the crazy little bird, it's there in the marketplace. And I believe it's actually I've not even been in the marketplace. I think it's free, so you may even have it in your own packet.
Yeah, it should be in there because I found it in there, and I had to fly it to make the video, so it wasn't one that I had to actually purchase.
Yeah, I had it in 2020, so I'm assuming it's in my bunch. So
I'm going to look right now.
I haven't looked at it for a while, but.
Curtis
if you want to try
Ford.
flying the Wright flyer, I recommend launching it into the Grand Canyon.
Only if you want to fly it more than a minute and a half.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're not afraid of heights.
Or go into settings and turn unlimited fuel on.
And if you don't mind walking back out.
Yeah. Because it ain't going to climb, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'll just pull the Jenny up right now. I'm just pulling it into the sim.
I haven't flown the Jenny in a minute.
I haven't flown it since we did a lesson on it way back when.
Way back. In the old days, Andrew.
When there was an enhancement mod for it.
An enhancement mod for the Jenny? Wow.
Yep.
I'm gonna say, you guys are trucking.
They know there's a long distance.
I'm slowly reining you in, but I am giving this DC3 some things it shouldn't have.
There's the Jenny. There you go, Heisenberg.
I should have picked the 6.
I'm trying the had it yesterday too. The new flight replicas Spit, the Mark 16, which is actually a glorified Mark 9 with a Packard Merlin in it. They call it the 266 Merlin instead of the 66.
Is that the ones they made in the U.S.?
Yep. So it's exactly the same as the Rolls-Royce Merlin. It's just license built by Packard in the States. And because they were just ever so slightly different, they renamed it the 266 so that mechanics wouldn't end up putting the wrong parts on them. It's nice looking. It flies nicely, but it's not as sophisticated as the V2 will be when it shows up.
If I remember correctly, that Jenny has some fun engine animations when you fire it up.
Yeah, I think you can't remember now, but yeah, I think you can. The rocker arms and stuff actually move.
Yeah, they're right out exposed.
So as you're staring out over the cowling and staring it back into your engine, those little ups and piston rods and stuff are moving.
Do you get the oil splashed in your foot?
Not that I remember.
Total immersion. Yeah.
Does everybody remember how to reach Jenny?
8675309.
Oh my
There
God.
you go.
You may have to explain that one to me, Mike.
It's a song.
Oh, okay.
Mike has to explain a lot of things.
It's a song by Tommy Two-Tone.
Okay.
Scarf is for the oil splash. Yeah. Thanks, Grabby. Because it got pretty chilly.
Truth be told, they wore silk scarves to keep their necks from getting chafed on their jackets. Because you're constantly moving your head flying a fighter plane. That's why even in the Second World War, a lot of pilots wore silk scarves.
It was very unfortunate for people that had that phone number when that song came out.
Yeah. And a lot of people still try and pay money to get them. That song's what, 45 years old or something?
Ouch.
I think so. I think it was like 1980, 81, something like that.
I think Charlie was hinting that was after his time.
Well, actually, no. I was 21 at the time, but that doesn't mean I paid attention to modern music at the time.
Oh, is that the same cat I met at your house there, Charlie? Or is that a different one?
Oh, you see a cat? Oh, this is a different one. And I tell you what, the Toby eye tracker doesn't work when she sits in front of it.
She sits in front of it.
Trying to get rid of her here. Come on, shoot.
Oh, she seemed like a stream-friendly cat.
She's a friendly thing till she gets in her mood and wants to play.
For some reason, Howard's dog liked me a lot. Or he's kind of picky, he said. But he would just sit on my feet everywhere.
Oh yeah, he
Very
loved
lovable.
you. He just loved you. He's not like that with everybody, so that was cool.
Yeah, I couldn't give him the lead. He just want to stay right there.
Okay, Ace, you're ahead of me now. Didn't move it fast.
There you
Well,
go, guys. There's the
still
Jenny.
rated up to the Greek, but I've been back at normal speed for a while. Lost a bunch of ground when I was playing the tractor. Aggressive taxiing there.
Well,
Through the
I
parking
thought it was
lot.
taking off, but you see an opening. I see an opening.
There's a hill if you need a little extra launch.
Lawn.
And there.
There
Need
you
another.
go.
There's
Need
a
another
fence.
Jenny over here. I was trying to taxi with one foot. That didn't work.
That fence existed.
That's
The
okay. It's
one-legged
made of
taxi.
wood. We'll just glue it back together, you guys.
Sounds like a
Use
good
the,
dance. The
use the
one-legged
parts from the
taxi.
fence to mend the plane.
So are you at our destination airport, Howard? I
Yep.
saw the.
Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
messing around with planes that he
Wonderful.
talks about, right? I got the Spirit of St. Louis ready to go too, right?
All right. Yeah, that's the next one. So I'll let me talk a little bit about this one. So New York to Paris flight. The 1920s saw major advancements in the field of aviation. Airplanes were now capable of flying longer distances than ever before. Since Charles Lindbergh was living in the bustling aviation community of St. Louis, he was able to keep track of the advancements being made throughout the industry. It was while living in St. Louis that he learned of the $25,000 Orteig Prize, which helped encourage many of these advancements. In May of 1919, French-born American businessman Raymond Orteig announced, as a stimulus to the courageous aviators, I desire to offer a prize of $25,000 to the first aviator of any Allied country crossing the Atlantic in one flight from Paris to New York or New York to Paris. All other details in your care. The Orteig Prize remained unreachable until the mid-1920s, when advances in aviation made a non-stop flight of this length even possible. On September 21st, 1926, French flying ace René Fonck and his crew attempted to take off from Roosevelt Field in New York, only to crash at the end of the runway, killing 2 of the 4 crew members. Upon reading about Fonck's failure, Lindbergh began to plan his own flight to Paris, figuring that a nonstop flight between New York and Paris would be less hazardous than flying mail for a single winter. Lindbergh discussed his idea with St. Louis businessmen and aviation supporters who pooled their resources to provide Lindbergh with the funding to purchase an airplane that could make the transatlantic flight. After several inquiries with other airplane manufacturers, Lindbergh decided to work with Ryan Aeronautical Company in San Diego, California. Ryan quoted Lindbergh and his backers $10,580 to build a single-engine monoplane powered by a Wright Whirlwind J5 engine in 60 days. From the start, Lindbergh wanted to make the flight by himself because of his concern about overloading the airplane. Lindbergh told Ryan chief engineer Donald Hall that he'd rather have extra gas than an extra person. The 2 men worked together to design every aspect of the airplane, which would become known as the Spirit of St. Louis. Named in honor of the man who provided the funding for the project, or the men rather, Lindbergh felt that they should give first consideration to efficiency in flight, second to protection in a crack-up, and third to pilot comfort. It was with safety in mind that Lindbergh and Hall moved the gasoline tank in front of the pilot seat, despite the fact that it blocked all of Lindbergh's forward sight. A periscope was installed to allow him to have limited forward vision during the few times during the flight in which it was needed. Everything that was too heavy was left behind, including a parachute and radio. So would you consider this an IFR flight, Howard?
Yeah. Yeah. No visual whatsoever. They actually did stick their head out the window a lot, but here's the periscope that you see here, you guys. And it actually
Bonus
worked.
points if you can land it on the inside.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
I don't recommend doing it with full tanks.
But there's the full, big, huge gas tank right after the firewall with all its gauges, all its valves and everything. What a contraption! So that's pretty well. They had this little periscope, and it does work. If I can get my head in there, you'll see what's up ahead.
Oh, that's cool.
You know that statement that Eisenberg made works good for aviation and general life as well.
Can't get my head in there, but probably have to
If
go
you
to
have
drone
extra
mode.
gas, you don't want another person.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
I didn't think about that, Mike, until now. It's like, thanks for that. Mamma mia. Never a dull moment when Mike's around, you guys.
So that's why they want us to mute us, Mike.
That's right. We're too late now. The word's out.
All right,
Well,
where did I leave
at
off?
least we don't have to worry about cameras with it.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure out what we're looking at through here. But it really is, if you look inside, it really is a periscope. It's what we used to make as kids with a cardboard box and a couple of mirrors. Put one at 45 here going in, which inverts the image, and put another one at 45 over the other end, which brings it back properly. And, you know, it was a lot of fun. Can you imagine flying the plane like that? Just sticks the box out into the wind like that. So theoretically, you should be able to look in here and see inside the plane. Yeah, certainly.
Well, Mike,
I think a lot of us did, yeah.
in Mike's case, it might actually improve his flying, Howard.
I think, yeah. And there's no anchor in this plane either. So he's, you know,
That's
keep those things out of the way, right? Make it Mike proof.
I think I read somewhere that when it came to landing, he actually preferred to side slip and use his window.
Yeah,
versus the
which makes
periscope.
sense. I like that too, actually, and even in modern planes, full view. Till the big June bug lands on that mirror. Yeah, yeah. It would scoop the insects, wouldn't it? Send them right out to your face.
All right. So, left off Lindbergh. All right. Lindbergh also studied charts and maps in order to plan out the Great Circle route that he would take from New York to Paris. Flying over land, he had always relied on Rand McNally railroad maps. Flying over the Atlantic would be a new challenge in which he would have to rely on dead reckoning or navigating with a compass and other instruments only, and not maps or landmarks. On April 25th, 1927, the plane was completed and testing began. 15 days later, the Spirit of St. Louis was declared ready to make the transatlantic flight. Lindbergh left California late on the afternoon of May 10th, planning to fly through the night to St. Louis. He completed the 1,500-mile flight in 14 hours and 25 minutes, a record for a nonstop flight of that distance. After spending a day with his supporters, he continued on his way to New York. Lindbergh feared that if he lingered, someone else would beat him in the race for the Orteig Prize. Lindbergh's flight from St. Louis to New York took 7 hours and 22 minutes for a combined cross-country flight in less than 22 hours, breaking another record. 27 hours after leaving Roosevelt Field, Lindbergh saw signs of life indicating that he had indeed reached the other side of the Atlantic. Porpoises and fishing boats led him to Dingle Bay on the southwestern coast of Ireland. Despite the challenges, he was less than 3 miles off course. News quickly spread across Europe and the United States that Lindbergh had been spotted over England. As Lindbergh continued on toward Paris, people began to gather at Le Bourget Aerodrome in anticipation of his arrival. Lindbergh expected the landing field to be pitch black since he was flying at night, but the large crowds came with lights, and a confused Lindbergh circled the airfield a few times before landing at 10:24 p.m. The flight took 33 hours and 30 minutes. In the book, The Spirit of St. Louis, Lindbergh recalled, I start to land back toward the floodlights and hangars, I start to taxi back toward the floodlights and hangars but the entire field ahead is covered with running figures. More than 150,000 people were rushing toward his plane. That's more people than tried to leave the night show at Oshkosh when I was out there a few weeks ago.
And that was quite the rush.
Yeah.
And not enough trolleys.
Let's see. The show ended at 10:30, and I couldn't get out of there until 1:30 a.m. 100,000 people attended that night show. So just imagine 50,000 more people, rushing toward Lindbergh when he landed. So the excited crowd carried Lindbergh on their shoulders before a quick-thinking Frenchman placed Lindbergh's flight helmet on a nearby reporter, creating a distraction that allowed Lindbergh to escape to a nearby hangar, where he was met by the American ambassador to France, Myron T. Herrick. The two drove through Paris and back to the ambassador's residence, where Lindbergh got some sleep after being awake for 63 hours. Charles Lindbergh, first to cross the Atlantic Ocean.
And his prize of $25,1927 is worth currently would be the equivalent of 400, just under 480,000 today.
Oh wow,
that's a nice prize. Yeah,
significant amount. Yeah,
I'd do it. Wouldn't you guys do it?
Yeah, the problem is today it would cost you more than that just to have the plane built.
Yeah, okay.
You know, at the Minneapolis airport, one of the terminals is called Lindbergh. For those of you that flew in there for Expo.
Didn't notice that. Or maybe I did. I forgot.
Yep, Lindbergh terminal.
A little bit of weather, guys?
A little bit. Got some rainbows. Rain.
Nice rainbow there, Ace.
Scary. I was adjusting my cabin altitude, and I have my head down in the cockpit. All of a sudden, my whole chair was shaking like crazy, and looked at it, and I was like,
"Is that you, Mike?"
Almost like a 50-degree bank diving down.
Gosh. So you're in the pressurized version.
Yeah.
Hope so. He's a 12,000 feet. He better be.
Yeah. I don't think mine is pressurized.
It's the one that I have my that SPAD profile that we worked on a while back ago, Charlie. That's the one I have dialed in perfectly as a pressurized. I got to do a radio for the normal one. I haven't copied over yet, so I just upped the pressurized. So I'm in a hurry.
So next up we have Amelia Earhart. So Charles Lindbergh was first to cross the Atlantic. Amelia Earhart was second. She did it twice, however. I read that the first time she crossed, it was as a passenger, which left her feeling, in her own words, like a sack of potatoes. So she had to do it. She had to do it right and fly it herself. So Amelia Earhart set a number of aviation records in her short career. Her first record came in 1922 when she became the first woman to fly solo above 14,000 feet. In 1932, Earhart became the first woman and second person after Charles Lindbergh to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. She left Newfoundland, Canada on May 20th in a red Lockheed Vega 5B and arrived a day later, landing in a cow field near Londonderry, Northern Ireland. Upon returning to the United States, Congress awarded her the Distinguished Flying Cross, a military decoration awarded for heroism or extraordinary achievement while participating in an aerial flight. She was the first woman to receive the honor. Later that year, Earhart made the first solo nonstop flight across the United States by a woman. She started in Los Angeles and landed 19 hours later in Newark, New Jersey. She also became the first person to fly solo from Hawaii to the United States mainland in 1935. Earhart consistently worked to promote opportunities for women in aviation. In 1929, after placing third in the all-women's air derby, the first transcontinental air race for women, Earhart helped to form the 99s, an international organization for the advancement of female pilots. She became the first president of the organization of licensed pilots, which still exists today and represents women flyers from 44 countries. On June 1st, 1937, Amelia Earhart took off from Oakland, California on an eastbound flight around the world. It was her second attempt to become the first pilot ever to circumnavigate the globe. She flew a twin-engine Lockheed 10E Electra and was accompanied on the flight by navigator Fred Noonan. They flew to Miami, then down to South America, across the Atlantic to Africa, then east to India and Southeast Asia. The pair reached Lae, New Guinea on June 29th. When they reached Lae, they already had flown 22,000 miles. They only had 7,000 more miles to go before reaching Oakland. Earhart and Noonan departed Lae for tiny Howland Island, their next refueling stop, on July 2nd. It was the last time Earhart was ever seen alive. She and Noonan lost radio contact with the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Itasca, anchored off the coast of Howland Island, and disappeared en route. President Franklin D. Roosevelt authorized a massive 2-week search for the pair, but they were never found. On July 19, 1937, Earhart and Noonan were declared lost at sea. Scholars and aviation enthusiasts have proposed many theories about what happened to Amelia Earhart. The official position from the U.S. government is that Earhart and Noonan crashed into the Pacific Ocean, but there are numerous theories regarding their disappearance. So I was watching, I tried to get some more information last night about what the latest theory is, and apparently they think they've uncovered the silhouette. They think they see the silhouette of the plane on the ocean floor, like one of the robot subs that can go down. I think it's like a 4 miles down. May have uncovered an image that kind of looks like the silhouette of the Electra, but it's nothing definite. There's so many different theories as to what happened. They landed they were way off course. They landed on an island south of Howland. They were captured by Nazis. They were captured and eaten by natives. They found bits and pieces of what they think are Amelia Earhart's belongings, a shoe, some plexiglass from one of the windows, stuff like that. But there's nothing definite. There are a bunch of different theories. Nobody to this day still knows exactly what happened. Now maybe this latest theory about the silhouette on the image of the plane on the bottom of the Pacific will pan out, but to date, nobody still knows. And when nobody knows, you get a bunch of different rumors that are unsubstantiated.
I was reading some yesterday after stream and whatnot. There's another expedition going to there's a reef around one of the islands that was speculated. They've been there a number of times, but I guess in October they're mounting another expedition to go dredging offshore around this reef. So I think that's where she was based on satellite references and stuff. So, so there's several places. There were several things going on even now, trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah, if I never know.
Only if they find it.
If it was near Bermuda, we'd know exactly. But
What happened?
Yeah, but if it was near Bermuda, she'd probably be back by now because the time dilation effect would have worn off and she'd have popped back in.
might be tomorrow. You never know.
Or you never know. I mean, there's always Flight 19, the flight of Grumman Avengers, and I think they actually found them a number of years ago on the bottom.
Wow.
Way off course from where they were supposed to be, but they did find. I think there's 7 or 8 aircraft in the flight, and they actually found that number of Avengers sitting on the bottom.
Oh, wow.
If I remember it correctly.
Hey, can I get a mic check real quick? I made a couple changes because I was getting a slight amount of background noise through that I think kept changing it to me when I wasn't talking.
That sounds fine to me.
Sounds good?
Yep, I got a 5x5 ace.
Thoroughly Dev says, we've checked Mike, and Mike is still Mike.
How's Mike's Mike? Who's on first?
Mikey.
Here.
Let's give it to Mikey. He'll eat anything.
Almost anything. That's true.
Big shout out to the whole crew, you guys. Everybody gathered together and we all made the stream happen tonight. Of course, if Heisenberg didn't show up, he's the star and we wouldn't have had it happen. So we were trying to figure out which night to do it. But it's really nice that they all pulled together, probably had other commitments, and they just set them aside and made the stream happen tonight. So big, huge appreciation to the ForderLearnToFly core team, co-hosts, and lead pilot. Thanks a bunch, you guys. And chat, for you guys jumping in and saying hi and sticking with us for a while, that's pretty cool. I appreciate it, especially when it's not something that was planned. So thanks, everybody.
And Super Ty is still pushing the coconut crab theory.
Yep. Yeah, well, there was the island that Heisenberg was talking about. They actually found parts or they found actually, I think they found a whole shoe that was appropriate material and appropriate style for a woman in that era. And they thought and as he said, they found plexiglass. They thought they found some other bits and pieces that were seemed to be appropriate for the Electra. So, but that theory is that they crash landed on this island / reef or whatever it was, and survived for a period of time, and then the crabs show up.
Wasn't that in Game of Thrones?
Well, where do you think they got the idea from?
So our next description is going to be the Doolittle raid over Tokyo. Right after the attack on Pearl Harbor, we needed to do something to show that that we weren't going to take that attack lying down, and that we could be a threat. January of 1942, U.S. Navy Captain Francis S. Lowe approached Admiral Ernest King with the idea of launching U.S. Army Air Forces bombers from the deck of an aircraft carrier. King's staff briefed U.S. Army Air Forces Commander Henry Hap Arnold, and with Arnold's approval, Special Aviation Project No. 1 became a joint Army-Navy operation. Arnold tapped Doolittle to handle planning on the Army side, and both Doolittle and Lowe agreed that the only aircraft in the American arsenal that could possibly work would be the B-25. On February 3rd, 1942, Doolittle and Lowe demonstrated the feasibility of the plan when they launched two B-25 Mitchell bombers from the deck of the carrier USS Hornet while it was at sea off the coast of Norfolk, Virginia. In the original plan for the raid, the bombers were to return to the carrier upon completion of the mission. However, in actual practice, it was found that although takeoff was comparatively easy, landing a bomber on a moving carrier flight deck was extremely difficult. It was thus decided that after the aircraft had dropped their bombs, they would head for unoccupied China or the Soviet city of Vladivostok. While the latter destination was much closer to Japan, negotiations with the Soviets about possible landings in their territory were unsuccessful. This left China as the only alternative. On April 1st, 1942, 16 modified B-25s were loaded onto the flight deck of the Hornet at Naval Air Station Alameda, and the carrier steamed out of San Francisco Bay under the cover of a heavy fog the following day. Accompanying the Hornet were the cruisers USS Nashville, USS Vincennes, the oiler USS Cimarron, and 4 destroyers. The flotilla was collectively named Task Force 18. It was to rendezvous with the carrier USS Enterprise and William Bull Halsey's Task Force 16, and then proceed to the launch area some 400 miles off the coast of Japan. Because Halsey outranked Hornet skipper Captain Mark Michener, he would take over command of the naval force. The Hornet's flight deck was covered with the Raiders' B-25s, so aerial patrols and reconnaissance was left to the aircraft of the Enterprise. And no, Mike, the Enterprise was not commanded by Captain Kirk at that time.
That's a good one. Directed, rated Andrew, right?
Well, I figured I'd say it before Mike did. So
you mean James T. Kirk, right?
James
yeah, that guy.
Kirk.
Yeah.
Right.
That's James Tiberius Kirk to you.
Right. At 3:10 a.m. on April 18th, American radar operators on the Enterprise detected a Japanese picket boat far outside the expected patrol area. The course of the task force was changed as each new Japanese vessel appeared on the radar screen. Finally, at about 7:38 a.m., lookouts. Now I'm getting dyslexic. I've been reading so long. Finally, at about 7:38 a.m., lookouts on the Hornet spotted a Japanese patrol craft just 20,000 yards from the carrier. Although the USS Nashville quickly sank the ship, the Hornet radio room intercepted an outgoing message alerting the Japanese military to the presence of the Americans. While Doolittle had hoped to launch aircraft at a distance of 400 to 600 miles from the target, Halsey was unwilling to risk his valuable carriers by pushing deeper into the Japanese defensive perimeter. Halsey dispatched an order to the Hornet: launch planes to Colonel Doolittle and gallant command. Good luck and God bless you. At the same time, Halsey launched his own aircraft to engage the Japanese surface vessels in the area. At this point, the Hornet was more than 820 miles from Tokyo. The approach to the target was uneventful. About an hour into the flight, the Raiders spotted a vessel that they took to be a camouflaged light cruiser, and an hour later, they crossed paths with a multi-engine land-based plane. From that point, they tried to avoid contact with various civilian and military craft that appeared on the water. Landfall was made north of Cape Inubo, a short distance from the mission's intended course. With the other flights proceeding according to their instructions, Doolittle's group approached Tokyo from the north. The Raiders flew as low as the terrain would permit and spotted several small biplanes, evidently trainers, in the air above them. Roughly 10 miles north of Tokyo, 9 Japanese fighters in 3 flights of 3 planes were spotted, but they did not move to engage the B-25s. As they neared their targets, the raiders climbed to a bombing altitude of 1,200 feet. They released their bombs, dipped back to treetop level, and flew west over the outskirts of the city. An estimated 14 tons of bombs were dropped on the Japanese mainland during the raid, and air crews claimed hits on virtually all of the assigned primary targets. Several of the planes reported seeing large fires as a result of incendiary bombs, while high explosive ordnance did visible damage to factories, ammunition dumps, naval facilities, and military barracks. After the mission, crews stated that anti-aircraft fire was intense but inaccurate. While the Japanese gunners judged the altitude well, the bursts were to the right or left of the planes, and the raiders did not lose any aircraft or personnel to flak. So they must have been using stormtroopers, right, Mike?
That's it.
Trying to beat you to it, Mike. I'm sorry.
You did.
The bombing did comparatively little physical damage, but it had an enormous psychological effect in both the United States and Japan. Doolittle was promoted to brigadier general and awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor, and the Army Air Forces used the raid as an effective recruiting tool. Captain Ted W. Lawson, a pilot involved in the mission, would write 30 Seconds Over Tokyo in 1943, a best-selling account of the raid that would be adapted as a feature film starring Spencer Tracy in the role of Doolittle. I'll have to find that. Watch that movie. While Japanese planners had not ruled out the possibility of a strike on the home islands, the reality of American bombers in Tokyo's skies forced them to accelerate the expansion of their defensive perimeter. This would culminate in the planned invasion of the Midway Islands in the Central Pacific. U.S. cryptanalysts, one of these days I'm going to learn how to talk, honest. I promise.
That's a hard word to start with.
Yeah.
So,
cryptanalysts had penetrated the Japanese JN-25 naval code. However, Pacific Fleet Commander Admiral Chester Nimitz ordered his carriers to intercept the Japanese naval force. At the subsequent Battle of Midway, U.S. naval air power destroyed Japan's first-line carrier strength and reversed the tide of the war in the Pacific.
Yeah. You know how they knew they were going for Midway? They had suspicions. The signals intelligence operators in Pearl Harbor sent a paper message to Midway, and the radio operators on Midway Island transmitted a message back to Pearl saying that their freshwater condenser wasn't working.
Yep.
And a couple of days, a week later, they picked up transmissions from the Japanese Navy that said that target AI is having water issues. And they'd already knew they were planning on attack for AI, but they didn't know where it was. And that proved it was Midway, so that's why they knew where they were going.
That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool fact.
Learned all that from the Henry Ford version of the movie Midway.
Yes.
Which I hate. I love them. I like the movie. I love the story and whatnot. The effects drive me nuts.
Oh yeah.
I really hate watching aviation movies where here's the planes approaching the target and their SPD Dauntlesses. Here's the plane in their attack dive. They're now TBD. They're now Helldivers, and then they're Wildcats. And it's like, guys, stop changing the planes.
Yeah, and it's all just B-roll that they could find.
It's whatever. Yeah, it's whatever. Yeah. It's whatever video they could find, but it's annoying.
Oh yeah, and I also hate the fact that they killed Charlton Heston at the end of that movie.
Well, would you like to be the one surviving crew from the Torpedo 8? I think They got picked up 3 days later by a PBY Catalina, floating in their life jackets and their seat cushions. After being shot down on the attack, they got to watch the whole thing from in the water. But they did get rescued. So.
Yep. I know on the so I think they depicted that in the newer movie, the newer Midway movie. But didn't they also depict a crew that was picked up by one of the Japanese?
Yeah, they thought they'd been rescued, and it turns out it was a Japanese destroyer. If you go by the movie, and the captain of said destroyer actually interrogated them, they wouldn't tell him anything, so he threw them overboard.
Yeah,
with weights tied to their ankles.
Well, that'll teach them.
Yeah.
And then that's a tactic that the Chicago mob learned to use after that. Cement shoes. Brutal. Who does that?
Where are we in the flight? All right, we're getting there. Next up, D-Day and the Douglas C-47. In the early morning of June 6, 1944, thousands of soldiers, sailors, and airmen from the United States, Great Britain, and the British Commonwealth readied themselves for D-Day of Operation Overlord, the designated day for the invasion of France and the liberation of Western Europe from their Nazi occupiers. As dawn broke, thousands of soldiers hit the beaches along the Normandy coast under the protective fire of British and American warships, an overwhelming air power. Despite this protective umbrella, the fighting was hard and costly before the battle was won. For several divisions of American and British soldiers, the invasion had actually begun the night before. That evening, 18,000 men of the U.S. 82nd and 101st Airborne Division and the British 6th Airborne Division loaded up into their transports, each marked with large black and white invasion stripes around the wings and fuselages in anticipation of a daring aerial assault behind German lines in the hope of cutting off Nazi reinforcements from reaching the Normandy beachheads. Their targets were bridges, intersections, and other strategic targets. The Americans were dropped behind Utah Beach in support of the U.S. 4th Infantry Division in the Cotentin Peninsula, while the British jumped behind Sword Beach to protect the Allied left flank, silencing a German coastal battery and destroying bridges across the Dives River. Bad weather and enemy anti-aircraft scattered many aircraft, so many paratroopers missed their landing zones. Fortunately, the resulting confusion perplexed the Germans even more, while the Americans and British secured their objectives and successfully fought off German counterattacks until the beachheads were secured. By the end of the first full day of combat, more than 23,000 paratroopers had landed by parachute or gliders, most of them carried to war by one single aircraft type, the Douglas C-47. Affectionately known as the Goonie Bird, the C-47 was the primary military transport of the Allies during the Second World War. More than 10,000 were built, with most serving with the Army Air Corps or Army Air Forces as the C-47 Skytrain, the U.S. Navy as the R-4D, and the Royal Air Force as the Dakota. The Soviet Union built 6,000 under license as the Lizanov Li-2, while even the Japanese built 400, ironically, under license as well, as the L-2D. The C-47 was sturdy, reliable, and rugged, and was capable of carrying 6,000 pounds of cargo over long distances. It was the backbone of the Allied military airlift and served with distinction at every theater of the war. Supreme Allied Commander General Dwight D. Eisenhower thought it one of the most significant military assets responsible for the Allies' victory over the Axis, yet it was merely a slightly modified airliner. But what an airliner! The C-47 was a militarized version of the classic Douglas DC-3, arguably the most significant airliner in history, as it is widely thought to be the first airliner capable of making a profit without government subsidy. The DC-3 was a major part of the second aircraft revolution when the modern all-metal aircraft came of age. The airlines were not the only organizations impressed by the DC-3. Already a customer for the DC-2, the Army Air Corps placed its first of many contracts for the C-47 on September 16, 1940. The C-47 differed little from the DC-3. C-47s were equipped with twin-row Pratt & Whitney R1830 radial engines, each producing 1,200 horsepower. Most but not all DC-3s were fitted with Wright R1820s of similar power. C-47s were built with a reinforced floor with cargo fittings, a large two-panel portside cargo door, and an astrolabe bubble for navigation above the cockpit. The wingspan was 6 inches wider than similar DC-3, and the fuel capacity was increased from 804 to 822 gallons with interior fittings for 9 100-gallon fuselage fuel tanks. Later versions were equipped for glider towing. The aircraft was flown by a pilot and co-pilot with a radio operator and could carry either 6,000 pounds of cargo, 28 fully equipped paratroopers, or 14 stretchers with medical attendants. An extremely versatile design. The first C-47 entered service on December 23, 1941, just 2 weeks after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. Production was centered in Long Beach, California, and soon Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. The Army Air Forces based its vast, quickly built transport network around the C-47 and its variants. New routes were blazed around the world, making possible in large part by the aircraft's legendary reliability. With the creation of the Air Transport Command in June of 1942, the C-47's operations expanded further, opening up the dangerous aerial supply from India across the hump of the Himalayas to China. C-47s dropped paratroopers into Sicily, New Guinea, southern France, the Netherlands, and the Ruhr Valley. They played a key role in supplying the Allies around the world and the Berlin airlift that saved that city from Soviet aggression during the Cold War. C-47s flew during the Korean War, ventured to the South Pole, and in Vietnam performed electronic reconnaissance and psychological warfare missions, and even pioneered the aerial gunship for night interdiction. The C-47 served the nation with distinction for over 35 years, in many guises and names, but perhaps the most important contribution was in the skies over Normandy on June 5th and 6th of 1944. So I'm wondering what kind of psychological warfare those planes actually performed. During the Korean War.
Dropping leaflets.
Dropping leaflets and stuff like that, right? Yeah. Propaganda,
yes.
pamphlets,
Yep.
yeah.
Speakers.
Yep. Next up, Chuck Yeager. So now we're entering supersonic era. So on December 10th, 1963, in an attempt to set a world absolute altitude record, Colonel Charles E. Chuck Yeager, U.S. Air Force, took a Lockheed NF-104A starfighter aerospace trainer on a zoom climb profile above 100,000 feet at Edwards Air Force Base in the high desert of Southern California. This was Colonel Yeager's fourth attempt at the record. The zoom climb maneuver was planned to begin with the NF-104A in level flight at 0.85 Mach and 35,000 feet. The pilot would then accelerate in military power and light the afterburner, which increased the J-79 turbojet engine's 9,800 pounds of thrust to 15,000 pounds of thrust. The modified starfighter was to continue accelerating in level flight. On reaching Mach 2.2, Colonel Yeager would ignite the Rocketdyne AR-2-3 rocket engine, which burned a mixture of JP4 and hydrogen peroxide to produce 6,600 pounds of thrust. And I was wondering why I couldn't get that thing up past 80,000 feet, because I had no clue that you had to I don't even know if it's possible in the one in the sim to light the rocket. I would think so. I'll have to play with it some more. But I couldn't get that thing up to 100,000 feet to save my life. It just started at 80,000 feet. It just starts to tumble because it loses all of its aerodynamic capabilities. None of the controls work at that point. When the AST reached Mach 2.5, Yeager was to begin a steady 3.5 G pull-up until the interceptor was in a 70-degree climb. At 75,000 feet, he would shut off the afterburner to avoid exceeding the turbojet's exhaust temperature. Yeager would then gradually reduce the jet engine power to idle by 85,000 feet and then shut it down. Without the engine running, cabin pressurization would be lost, and his AP-22S-2 full pressure suit would inflate. The NF-104A would then continue to zoom to an altitude where its aerodynamic control surfaces were no longer functional. It had to be controlled by reaction jets in the nose and wingtips. The pilot had to use the reaction control thrusters to pitch the AST's nose down before re-entering the atmosphere, so that it would be in a negative 70-degree dive. The windmill effect of air rushing into the intakes was used to restart the jet engine. The 10 December flight did not proceed as planned. Chuck Yeager reached a peak altitude of approximately 108,000 feet, nearly 2 miles lower than the record altitude set by Major Robert W. Smith just 4 days earlier. On re-entry, Yeager had the starfighter incorrectly positioned with only a negative 50-degree nose-down pitch angle rather than the required negative 70 degrees. The starfighter entered a spin. Without air flowing through the engine intake because of the spin, Yeager could not restart the NF-104's turbojet engine. Without the engine running, he had no hydraulic pressure to power the aerodynamic flight control surfaces. He was unable to regain control of the airplane. Yeager rode the out-of-control airplane down to 80,000 feet before ejecting. So Chuck Yeager's own words, the data recorder would later indicate that the airplane made 14 flat spins from 104,000 until impact on the desert floor. He says, I stayed with it through 13 of those spins before I punched out. I hated losing an expensive airplane, but I couldn't think of anything else to do. I went ahead and punched out. The NF-104A crashed at 35 degrees by 7 by 25 west, 118 degrees by 8 by 50, about 1 mile north of the intersection of State Route 14 and State Route 58 near California City. The airplane was completely destroyed. So basically, pilot error. He crashed because of pilot error. Chuck Yeager was seriously burned by the ejection seat's internal launch rocket when he was struck by the seat, which was falling along with him. This incident was dramatized in the 1983 movie The Right Stuff, with Yeager portrayed by actor Sam Shepard. I don't think that was the only plane Chuck Yeager ever crashed, right? Am I correct in saying that?
I would say probably not.
So our final milestone, Apollo 11. The primary objective of Apollo 11 was to complete a national goal set by President John F. Kennedy on May 25, 1961. Perform a crewed lunar landing and return to Earth. So not a crewed lunar landing, C-R-U-D-E, a crewed lunar landing, C-R-E-W-E-D. I'm trying to stay ahead of you, Mike. I'm trying to stay ahead of you.
That was a good one.
Additional flight objectives included scientific exploration by the lunar module or LEM crew. deployment of a television camera to transmit signals to Earth, and deployment of a solar wind composition experiment, seismic experiment package, and a laser ranging retroreflector. During the exploration, the two astronauts were to gather samples of lunar surface materials for return to Earth. They also were to extensively photograph the lunar terrain, deploy scientific equipment, the LM spacecraft, and each other, both with still and motion picture cameras. This was to be the last Apollo mission to fly a free return trajectory, which would enable a return to Earth with no engine firing, providing a ready board of the mission at any time prior to lunar orbit insertion. Wasn't there a speech prepared in case they never made it back? I think the president, I think the president had a speech all prepared in case they didn't actually make it back to Earth. That's how much confidence they had in that mission, apparently. Apollo 11 launched from Cape Kennedy on July 16, 1969, carrying Commander Neil Armstrong, Command Module Pilot Michael Collins, and Lunar Module Pilot Edwin Buzz Aldrin into an initial Earth orbit of 114 by 116 miles. An estimated 650 million people watched Armstrong's televised image and heard his voice describe the event as he took one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind on July 20th, 1969. The flight plan called for the first EVA to begin after a 4-hour rest period, but it was advanced to begin as soon as possible. Nonetheless, it was almost 4 hours later that Armstrong emerged from the Eagle and deployed the TV camera for the transmission of the event to Earth. At about 109 hours, 42 minutes after launch, Armstrong stepped onto the moon. About 20 minutes later, Aldrin followed him. The camera was then positioned on a tripod about 30 feet from the LEM. Half an hour later, President Nixon spoke by telephone link with the astronauts. Commemorative medallions bearing the names of the 3 Apollo 1 astronauts who lost their lives in a launch pad fire and 2 cosmonauts who also died in accidents were left on the moon's surface. A 1.5-inch silicon disc containing micro-miniaturized goodwill messages from 73 countries and the names of congressional and NASA leaders also stayed behind. During the EVA, in which they both ranged up to 300 feet from the Eagle, Aldrin deployed the early Apollo scientific experiments package. Experiments and Armstrong and Aldrin gathered and verbally reported on the lunar surface samples. After Aldrin had spent 1 hour 33 minutes on the surface, he re-entered the LEM, followed 41 minutes later by Armstrong. The entire EVA phase lasted more than 2.5 hours, ending at 111 hours 39 minutes into the mission. Armstrong and Aldrin spent 21 hours 36 minutes on the moon's surface. After a rest period that included 7 hours of sleep, the ascent stage engine fired at 124 hours 22 minutes. It was shut down 435 seconds later when the Eagle reached an initial orbit of 11 by 55 miles above the moon, and when Columbus was on its 25th revolution. As the ascent stage reached Apollon, which is the point at which a spacecraft in lunar orbit is furthest from the moon, at 125 hours 19 minutes, the reaction control system, or RCS, fired so as to nearly circularize the Eagle orbit at about 56 miles, some 13 miles below the slightly behind Columbia. Subsequent firings of the LMRCS changed the orbit to 57 by 72 miles. Docking with Columbia occurred on the CSM's 27th revolution at 128 hours, 3 minutes into the mission. Armstrong and Aldrin returned to the CSM with Collins. 4 hours later, the LM jettisoned and remained in lunar orbit. Trans-Earth injection of the CSM began July 21st as the SPS fired for 2.5 minutes when Columbia was behind the moon in its 59th hour of lunar orbit. Following this, the astronauts slept for about 10 hours, and 11.2-second firing of the SPS accomplished the only mid-course correction required on the return flight. The correction was made July 22nd at about 150 hours, 30 minutes into the mission. 2 more television transmissions were made during the trans-Earth coast. Re-entry procedures were initiated July 24th, 44 hours after leaving lunar orbit. The SM separated from the CM, which was reoriented to a heat shield forward position. Parachute deployment occurred at 195 hours, 13 minutes. After a flight of 195 hours, 18 minutes, 35 seconds, about 36 minutes longer than planned, Apollo 11 splashed down in the Pacific Ocean, 13 miles from the recovery ship USS Hornet. Because of bad weather in the target area, the landing point was changed by about 250 miles. Apollo 11 landed 13 degrees, 19 minutes north latitude and 169 degrees, 9 minutes west longitude, July 24th, 1969. And that's all I have to say about that.
Yep. And there were only
Nice.
5 more missions to the moon. I think 16. I think was the last.
Yep. They
5 more
canceled
that
the last.
landed.
Yeah.
17 was the last one, but 13 didn't make it to the moon.
No.
Well, didn't land on the moon.
It made to the moon. It just
Just didn't land.
It was a successful failure because everybody got back home safely.
So one piece of trivia about Apollo 13, the company that made the cryogenic tanks for the command module that exploded, that liquid oxygen tank had a short and exploded. Anybody know who that was?
you didn't have anything to do with it, did you?
What was the
No.
question?
What company made the cryogenic tanks that exploded? It was the cause of the Apollo 13 catastrophe. And Mike, you're flying in one of their airplanes. It was Beechcraft.
Beechcraft? Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
They had a space technology group in Colorado. They made those, and so they were quickly investigated what happened and fixed it, and allowed the Apollo mission to continue. But that was a surprise to me when I learned that.
It's not what you expect from a primarily civil aviation company.
Nope.
Especially a small aircraft civil aviation.
They actually did a lot of other things, but made target drones back in the day. Actually made some helicopter airframes.
So is it fair to say we went to the moon in a Beechcraft?
No,
No,
they
but
didn't go
it had
to
some components. Oh, nice view, Andrew. What's your altitude there?
17.72.
It's high enough to not hit anything.
Yeah, this is a few clouds, believe it or not.
I'm on live. It's a few more.
Yeah, I tried live yesterday. You couldn't see anything as far as the ground was concerned, unless you didn't mind skimming the treetops.
It's starting to get pretty though.
Speaking of which, Treetop was with us yesterday.
That's right, he was.
Yeah, I saw that.
When he stood up, you could see his head above the clouds. Treetop. He actually has the full motion. The full motion simulator that you were in, Charlie, at FS Expo.
Yep.
Treetop Flyer has
Treetop.
that.
6 degrees of freedom. Yep.
Yeah, that top of the line
He
one.
loves-
He's got one of those in his home. Didn't they have to take a door out or something, or take a wall out to bring it in?
He took the closet door off and put some pieces of the machine in the closet.
And they put extra shocks and stuff on it too. Yeah, he's a big guy.
Goodness.
But nicest guy you'd ever meet, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So the scene you're watching right now, you guys, that's Ace of Spades in the DC-3. Wonderful plane to fly. Made a lot of history. Both military
Flying
and
from
civilian.
cloud to cloud. Starting to get a bit of a sunset going here, though.
Yeah, it is good. Now that you mention it, we didn't think about the time for flying east. Oh, that's a beautiful picture.
True, Maddie, yeah. Ace is cloud hopping. Yeah, that's it.
So Howard, you were saying earlier that you thought it was Franklin Roosevelt who issued the proclamation for.
Or was it?
It was, yeah. It
Okay,
was.
I got it right.
In 1939, it was Franklin Delano Roosevelt who issued the presidential proclamation that designated the anniversary of Orville Wright's birthday to be National Aviation Day,
Yeah.
which falls on August 19th. Yep.
So I got it right. Good.
Yep.
I'm not always up on the American history, but I am half American, so I should know.
A month ago, I didn't even know there was a National Aviation Day. Now I'll never forget it.
So I'll be involved with the Microsoft official channel this coming Friday. Some of you might know they have 3 days honoring Aviation Week, and it's a huge race across the world. Asoba headquarters in France, and then Seattle, of course, the center of the universe for all Microsoft products. And so we've got to travel super fast. So even I was going to take the 707 because I love that plane. Oops, sorry, Howard, it's a bit too slow. It's like, okay, I better fire up the Quasar. So I'll be on with Flights with Joel and with Allison. The three of us will be guests with CDL on the Friday coming up. I think the Monday you're going to see Tuto Murphy, and I'm not sure who's coming on Wednesday, but so Monday, Wednesday, and Friday they're doing big stream just for that stuff, you guys, and we'll be joining CDL on Friday. It's going to be a lot of fun. By the way, Raleigh Mall was
actually flying the Quasar?
I might, yeah. We're supposed to fly something fast, and F-18 and above. So we were talking about that in chat, Ace, and it's
they're trying to do around the world in 3 days. So.
Yeah, so I'll just take the Quasar and get there and take pictures when they finally arrive.
Hey, DH.
So you saw Raleigh Mall was in chat.
DH.
He's now streaming,
Yep.
so maybe we can raid him afterwards. Hey, DH, yeah, we don't normally stream on a Sunday. This is like old times, right? The first couple of years I was streaming, I also did Sundays. But the numbers weren't very high. And like you guys notice, even today, the numbers aren't too high. But, we're doing it. We're having fun with it. We got everything figured out. And looks like it's working okay. I'm going to fine-tune a couple things, like the music is a bit muffled or something, so I'm going to figure that out. But I think we're happy with the way the system is now. Consistency moving forward. So thanks to all that helped and troubleshot and got everything working.
I do kind of miss the time slot, though, not going to lie.
Yeah, but then you were the first to say that when football comes on, see you later, alligator. So, it's like...
Well...
Thanks, DH, for that.
It does compete with football season, yes.
Right, yeah, so that's the thing, yeah. Yeah, DH, thanks for saying that. There is some fine-tuning still to go, but we're getting there. We're getting there. With the help of Noise Boy Mike, who is a professional audio engineer, who has helped us set all this up. That part was rock solid. It was the browsers and the Windows systems that were throwing me off, and really messed up Saturday's stream, so that's why we're redoing it now. And you guys, every time you reboot Windows, and you know, I was a Windows specialist right up until 5 years ago. You know, when you reboot Windows, sometimes it fixes things and sometimes it completely wrecks things. So it was, I'm going to have to, I have a checklist now. Every time I start up my streaming machine and my sim machine, I'm looking for specific things to make sure our streams are going to be rock solid. That's what we're working on now. Yeah, that's true, DH, right? I mean, I plugged in my Pimax when I was testing that. I had to give it back, by the way, but when I was testing that, I plugged it in and it took over everything. The microphone in it and the headset in it, and that was it. Everything else I had set was dead. So it's like, what? So yeah, that happens, you guys. It's a Windows thing, right? It's supposed to help us so we don't have to be technical, right? Yeah. Yeah, the whole Discord thing too, right? Discord detects something new. Yeah. Reboot twice. That's it. Reboot twice and boot once. Get it? With your boot. Anyway, we distract. Sorry, Heisenberg. What's up, Doc?
That's okay. No issues. The only thing I have left to talk about is First Flight Airport.
All right, let's go there. I'm already there.
All right. Yep. Okay. So First Flight Airport. First Flight Airport is a public use airport located 1 nautical mile west of the central business district of Kill Devil Hills, a town in Dare County, North Carolina. The airport is owned by the U.S. National Park Service. It was included in the National Plan of Integrated Airport Systems for 2011-2015, which categorized it as a general aviation facility. The airport itself is famous for being the site of hundreds of pre-flight gliding experiments carried out by the Wright brothers. The Wright brothers National Memorial, located atop nearby Kill Devil Hill, is a 60-foot granite pylon paying homage to the Wright brothers and the first sustained heavier-than-air flight. The U.S. Centennial of Flight Commission also chose the airport as one of the stops for the National Air Tour for 2003. First Flight Airport is a small, public-use, non-towered airfield on the grounds of the Wright brothers National Memorial in Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina. It is one of a small number of public-use airfields located within a National Park Services unit, and it sits at the very site where Orville and Wilber Wright flew the world's first powered airplane on December 17, 1903. Pilots who land here can park the aircraft and walk to the Memorial and Visitor Center about 10 minutes away. One wrinkle worth knowing, in December 1903, the town of Kill Devil Hills did not exist. It was not chartered until 1953, 50 years after the flight, so the dunes had no town name of their own. Kitty Hawk, the nearest village with a post office and a weather station, is the name that went out on the telegram and the name that reached the newspapers. So the first flight didn't happen in Kitty Hawk, it happened in Kill Devil Hills, which we didn't learn. We learned Kitty Hawk in school. The single runway 3/21 is a 3,000 foot long, 60 foot wide paved asphalt at an elevation of 13 feet MSL. There's no fuel, no lighting, and no tower on the field. Operations are CTAF 122.9 and permitted from 30 minutes before sunrise until 30 minutes after sunset. Aircraft may park in the tie-down area for 24 consecutive hours or 48 total hours in any 30-day period, and pilots must bring their own ropes. The closest fuel and full services are at Dare County Regional, about 7 nautical miles south in Manteo. KFFA is the ICAO identifier, FFA is the FFA location identifier, and both refer obviously to the same airport and are used interchangeably in pilot publications. And it is rendered very nicely by default in the sim. DH says he lives in North Carolina and he's never been there. That's kind of like I live close to Philly and I've never seen the Liberty Bell.
Can everybody else hear us? Or do we have a sound issue again?
No,
Oh, DH said he couldn't hear anything.
no sound issues.
Okay.
No, it's good that you're listening. Yeah, we're watching closely in case things happen, you guys, but it's been pretty solid.
Good. Yeah, no, just DH said he was wondering if anybody was talking because he couldn't hear anything.
Yeah, Heisenberg doesn't fill the silence like I do, you guys. I just keep on talking, right? It's a good thing. If there's no words needed, then why say them, right?
Hey, Howard, can you switch to my screen?
Sure. Over to you, Ace.
All right. So, everybody, we're having a little behind-the-scenes chat here while we're flying. And I was sharing a picture of my setup going here. And all of us in the group chat. And I got to thinking when I was looking at it that, man, that reminds me a lot of like Hollywood Squares. And I mentioned it to Mike. Came back with this.
Why do people let those two alone by that with computers?
Oh, does that even look good?
It kind of looked like the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, the Brady Bunch. That's what you 3 more squares and you'd have the Brady Bunch. Yep.
Oh my gosh, the Forder Bunch. Look at this. You guys are having too much fun while you're flying planes. Yeah. Is that Andrew at the bottom in his pajamas? Is that what that is?
That's Andrew at the bottom.
And what on earth am I wearing over there? Is that a flowered shirt?
Our clothes, especially Andrew's shirt. That's my favorite.
like peace, peace, brother. Oh yeah, a lot of us are wearing that shirt.
Pelican still made it into the shot. It lost the language a lot. What is that? What is that?
I don't know. It was
it went from Noiseboy Mike to something German.
Maddie Lynn says, "I'll take the bottom left square." We should put Maddie Lynn in there in the bottom left square.
Right.
Hippie Forder. Yeah, that was back in the day, you guys. Matter of fact, you guys, I was just practicing Sometimes When We Touch by Dan Hill. I was just practicing that yesterday on guitar because it's a tricky song. It's funny, you guys. I'm thinking back to hippie days, and today you mentioned Howard the Hippie. It's like, what? That's cool.
Anyway, that Forder Bunch one is probably going to make its way onto the public Discord at some point. It's so good.
Way to go, Ace. Thanks for that. Way to go, team. You guys, other than the stress of things not working, we do actually have a lot of fun together, so it's quite a team. Okay, Heisenberg, back to you.
I'm pretty much out of content at this point.
No, you're talking about the markers, and I'm looking at the plaque in front of the markers now. They show a diagram at the bottom of the plaque about the 12-second flight, 175 feet, 120 feet, 200 feet, and then the line way down there, number 4.
Yeah, 850 feet.
So you mentioned about that, right?
Yeah, let me get there because I'm too far, still out. I'm over the water, but I'm still a ways away. So
for the sake of time, I can be showing it from my screen if you want.
All right.
Just a sec. First time chat. Let me just mention that while there's a break here, right? Masterly Steak, is that it? You'll have the chance to try the Widowmaker jet. Such a fun fighter jet. Okay. I know it's not the right plane for this run, but I've been able to keep it slow enough and surprisingly for achieving Mach 2.7 or higher. Cool. Thanks for saying hi in chat. Thanks for first time chat. Good to hear from you.
Fun fact. That's my other cousin.
That's your other cousin.
Brother.
Oh, wow, cool. You got the family here. So, if we're going to interrupt your Sunday, you might as well bring the family on board, right?
If you direct your attention, let's see if he's still here. If you direct your attention over back, there's King Air 350. That's their dad. That's my uncle.
Wow.
You say bring the family.
Bring the family, yeah. Dad's here somewhere too, LOL. That's cool. Well, there's Ace in
About to
action,
hold
you guys.
that
He's
song.
going into those clouds. It's looking pretty gnarly up ahead.
Kind of pretty though.
It is pretty. Absolutely. You always have everything you do is set to look pretty because you got an eye for it. You know, this is why you're the art
It is a
department.
nice sunset.
30 more seconds, it won't be pretty when I'm in that cloud.
That's right.
Right now, it looks nice.
And you know, there's times my wife and I'll jump on our bikes and head toward wherever the sunset is in the city here, and we'll go and try and find an opening. Because look, it looks looking great. Let's race and get there. And we race our bikes. We get there. And we stop and we look up. Darn, it's changed. It's like, it does change quickly.
It's a nice orangey color.
Yeah. But what I'm saying, what he's going into right now, that's not nice. Look at that.
Oh yeah, no.
That's mean. It's like he's going to do it.
Color coming up.
He's going to punch a hole in there.
Proverbial dark cloud over your head.
That's right. All right, so we interrupted Heisenberg after I said go for it, and then stuff came up. So here, let's go back to this. So there's the plaque, Heisenberg, and then I'll go out and look at the real stones on the field right beside me here.
I'm on the ground too now.
Okay,
so-
we'll go with your camera. No worries. I'm here as a backup.
So we've got the actual monument here.
Okay, hold on. Let me bring your screen up. If you're going to show stuff right there, good. Super.
So yep.
We're on you.
And again, this is all default scenery. I mean, this is not an add-on. There's no additional scenery required. They built it right into the sim like this, and it's pretty well done. So you've got the actual monument here, 60 feet tall, right? You can tell by if you're standing in front of the door, you can tell it's pretty tall.
So
right?
it's got a door. So what would be in it? Is it museum stuff or is it
I'm not sure what
they got the original
may have
fire in
some-
there and it's still like decomposed wood or something?
Yeah, no, I don't know if they have maybe erected by the Congress of the United States, begun 1928, dedicated 1932. I have no idea. Maybe they store the lawnmower that they used to cut the grass. I don't know. That's where I
historic lawnmower.
Right, exactly. Now, there was some really cool stuff here. So right here, what I would show, here's the actual museum, right, or the visitor center where they have some stuff. You can't go in here, but I mean, this is kind of, when you go there, this is where you would go in, and maybe more than likely they have like some history that you can listen to and some things that you can see. Walk through the visitor center, and from there you can walk out onto the grounds. And then there were these two huts. Now these are the hangars where they actually stored the flyer. I was reading off one of the plaques yesterday, and I'm going too fast. Let me slow down. It's better. A little more control. I thought this was pretty interesting. Here's a picture of, you've got Orville Wright on the left, Orville Wright on the left, and you've got Amelia Earhart on the right. So I thought that was cool that they knew each other.
They hang out together.
So in commemoration of the conquest of the air, from the establishment as a national monument in 1927 to the first flight centennial of 2003, the local people of the Outer Banks have shown dauntless resolution and unconquerable faith in honoring and recognizing the first flight of the Wright brothers. The Kill Devil Hills Memorial Association, later to become the First Flight Society, took the lead in organizing the 25th anniversary celebration held in 1928. And let's see, the event featured the unveiling of the first flight marker and the laying of the cornerstone for the monument, two of the most prominent features at Wright Brothers National Memorial. For the first time, the location of the first flight received as much attention as the flight itself. Orville Wright, Amelia Earhart, and more than 3,000 people from the area participated in the event. Ironically, to attend, they traveled by almost every means but air. Over the years, local citizens, the First Flight Society, and people from all over the state of North Carolina, except for DH, have continued to provide the grassroots support necessary to host annual commemorative events. With their help, the reconstructed camp buildings were opened during the 50th anniversary celebration. The first flight airstrip opened during the 60th anniversary, and the first flight sculpture, a gift from the people of North Carolina, was dedicated during the 100th anniversary. So I thought this was pretty neat. I didn't know that. I guess they did all know each other back then, right?
Yeah, it's like musicians stick together too, right?
Yeah.
Talk aviation. A lot of people can't do that with their families.
Right.
Like a lot of us, you go to talk about aviation and they kind of gloss over. So you hang around people who love aviation, like our group today and everybody in chat. We talk aviation and it's interesting, right? So, they hang out together. Those are great pictures, isn't it?
Yeah.
Also, I'm looking at the boulder right beside the rail, and it's got this plaque right on the boulder, right? For successful flight of an airplane.
Yeah, these are where the markers are.
Right. That's where I am right now, yeah, where the markers
Yeah. So you've got the rail where they started, right? First successful flight made from this spot by Orville Wright, December 17th, 1903. A machine designed and built by Wilber, Wright, and Orville Wright. This tablet was erected by the National Aeronautic Association of the USA, December 17th, 1928, to commemorate the 25th anniversary of this event. And
there's the rail.
Yeah, there's the rail. And each marker represents the distance of each flight. So the first marker, end of first flight, 12 seconds, 120 feet, December 17th, 1903, piloted by Orville Wright. And then you've got the second marker. End of second flight, about 12 seconds, 175 feet, December 17th, 1903, piloted by Wilber Wright. And then the third, 15 seconds, 200 feet, piloted by Orville. So small. So three small steps and then one giant leap. A lot like Neil Armstrong.
For mankind, yeah.
for all mankind.
For all mankind.
So the fourth and final, they must have the winds must have picked up because they went from what was it, 200 feet to 852?
Well, I guess they designed a better plane. Every time they kept tweaking, right?
Yeah, I guess they kept making adjustments and tweaking it, and finally got it to. They must have had better winds by the time they got to this fourth flight.
So DH Paradox, if you wouldn't mind, if you do go out there, if you want to take some pictures or some video, we'll recap it on our stream at some point. It'll be fun. You'll be boots on the ground.
Last flight was almost 1 minute, 852 feet, Wilber Wright. And if you kind of pull back a little, I got to speed it up now. So the challenge is to beat 852 feet, and now you can actually launch the Wright Flyer from here yourself and try to beat that record.
Good luck, you
Fly it
guys.
into the trees.
It's not easy. It's a very delicate balance between stall and cruise. And then you run out of gas, right? So I think we should have a competition here someday. I mean, we can't do it today. We've been pretty long on the stream, but we should. And that's some of the hangars there. I think one of those was made. Is that one of those the wind tunnel? They actually made their own wind tunnel. I'm not sure if it's there on site right now, but
I think it even says right here on the plaque. Let's see. It's amazing they have this here. So home away from home. Wilber and Orville Wright lived and worked here during their 1901, 1902, and 1903 testing season. So first they had a tent, then they built the structure. So yeah, they actually lived here, and one of the buildings was the hangar. Late summer through autumn, constructed buildings in front of it. So these are not the original, they're reconstructed. Each year the brothers refined their camp. In 1901, they built a wooden hangar workshop for the glider and lived in a tent. They moved their living quarters into the hangar in 1902. In 1903, they needed more space, so they built a larger hangar, which is the one on the left. So yeah. So this is the hangar. Well, we can't go in it, unfortunately. So they lived in here, and the plane was right next door.
Cool.
That's pretty cool.
They had a 30 to 35 miles per hour headwind that day. You know, the recreation happened, what would be the 100th or the 150th? I forget how many. They actually built a replica of the Wright Flyer, huge, massive people there, and it didn't fly. I mean, it was such a disappointment, you guys. It was there. The hype was there. The people were there. The media was there. This was huge, not too many years ago, and flew this replica, which didn't actually get off the ground. So it's like they were lucky back then. Ace is 1 mile out. Yeah, I got my camera. Oh, he's actually coming in for landing. So Heisenberg, I'll switch over to my screen here.
Yeah.
As some of them come in. Good timing.
Some high trees there on the threshold of this fairly short runway.
Wow, you're looking like a caribou there, Ace. I know you're in a DC-3. Let's change over to your point of view. Yeah, much better point of view. Yeah, I don't know why it shows up as a caribou on my screen because I have the DC-3. Maybe there's an enhancement or an update.
I think it's because I'm running the Duckworks mod.
Ah, I should put that in. Strap is right behind you. I just see him coming up on a low wing on the runway. And Mia Scully's heading down, almost looks like maybe the DC-3, yeah. Mia Scully, good to see you. Oh, look at that. She's in the Super Connie, or at least that's what it shows on my screen. A tail dragger Super Connie. They're all arriving, you guys. Here they come. Is that you, Krabby, getting ready to go? Some tight barking. Yeah, Maddie Lynn, I can't switch over to you until I set it up ahead of time. I've got to set up a new window, a new source in OBS, and we'll do that for your stream. But I can't do it on the fly. I wish I'd known before the stream started. So sorry.
Howard, I've got that mod that Ace is using. So if you switch to my camera, you can see his plane better.
You bet. Coming over to you.
I'm right behind Master Snake.
Well, that's the thing. I saw him in the air looking like that, and then while he's on the ground, did he turn to something else, right? Masterly Steak just kind of gingerly made his way into the runway. That's cool. They're coming in, you guys.
Does that look about right, Ace?
Yeah.
That's the flight simulator version. You didn't want the all polished metal version?
I did want a different version, but this is the only one I could get the Duckworks mod to actually load up in for some reason. I was having grief, and so when it worked, I went with it.
I've got the Duckworks mods, and I saw him as DC-3, but if I got too close, he went pink.
Wow. Yeah, and Panaman's saying that he sees Ace as a DHC-4.
So 3 wingspans out, and he kind of looked like that. Got within about 2 wingspans, and the whole plane went pink.
Straps in the Piaggio.
Oh, nice.
Flying this one. Is that
Panaman?
Yeah.
That's Panaman, right?
Could be.
Yep.
I think
yeah, that's nice.
Too. Yeah, I think Ace's uncle's also in the DC.
Yeah.
If the tags were right.
So somebody mentioned tight parking. I guess that's true. Look at it.
Yeah, just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Let's flood the parking lot, you guys. Let's do it.
So now we know why they don't have Oshkosh here.
That's right. There's just no room for it. Probably wrecked the place. Right? 100,000 people, 10,000 pilots, 10,000 planes. Yeah.
That wouldn't work so well.
Yeah, Paul's walking over to the monument, so let's go find Paul.
Very strange. Heisenberg, you're the only one that I can hear and the only one moving.
Oh, wow.
Everybody else is froze.
Oh, yeah?
Really?
So Krabby says, I'm not walking over to the monument. I'm going to taxi over to it.
It was a much better landing today than yesterday.
Yeah, true, Maddie. That's why you and I are over in the field. That's way too crowded. So, Krabby, what is that supposed to be? The plane you're in? Is that the right plane? And everybody's right over here, you guys. It's within a walking distance of it. Now, Paul, you said you were walking over to the monument. I don't see you out here. Do you see everybody else? There's your plane. I see that. I don't see you out walking, though. Still, it looks like it's right next door, but it's quite a hike, too. There goes Strap. He's on his way. He's on his way in a hurry. I think he's looking for a washroom.
Howard, when you get a chance, cut back to me and I'll show you. There's a little, there's some statues that depict the first flight.
Yep, you're in.
Right there.
Strap is doing an impersonation of me after the stream.
Yeah. He's doing an impersonation of all of us after a 3-hour stream, right? Run! I can't run right now, you guys, so I gotta plan it. Oh, those are great statues.
Where is this monument?
Right near, you can see the monument on the hill, and this is right nearby where the parking is. And oh, I see. There's the airport over there where everybody is. So
yeah,
this is further over.
So
yeah,
from the hill West tag, I think that's where it's at.
Yeah. It's on the other side. Yeah.
You need to run to the hill.
Yeah, there is another monument farther down. You go down the coast a little ways. There's another monument down there that I forgot what it's called though.
That's pretty cool, hey. Imagine doing something for aviation like this and getting a statue long after you're gone. It's pretty cool. Now they look like they're made of metal. I bet you people climb on them, right? They climb on them, take pictures. I'll bet.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't have that. Look like they have barriers.
In that moment that scene is capturing, they did the first flight. What do you suppose they thought the future was going to be?
Good point, right? What would be going through their minds, right?
Holy crap! It actually flies.
No, I think they were certainly visionaries, right? So they probably were thinking we got to make it robust enough to take a few passengers so that it can make some money. A few or one. we got to make the first Air Force One.
Revolutionary feat,
right? But there was a lot of competitors at the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They weren't they were racing to get to be the first. They could very easily have missed being the first, right?
Some of them would have lived long enough to see quite a bit of progress.
Oh, Orville Wright met Chuck Yeager in 1945, and he was alive for the first supersonic flight in I believe that was 47. He died a year later after that flight, and I don't know if he actually saw that flight, but yeah, he was alive. And there's no picture, unfortunately, of Chuck Yeager and Orville Wright together, but from what I've read, they did meet in 1945, and he was alive when Chuck Yeager broke the sound barrier.
Wow. Can you imagine going from flying in that thing to witnessing the sound barrier?
Right.
That's just amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, but he'd walk up to the plane and go, "What are these things on the sides that are kind of flappy?" And he said, "Those are flaps." Flaps. Oh, that's great.
Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
The wings aren't warping. How you turning that thing?
That would solve everything. Holy moly, you guys. And what a weird setup. They got an elevator in the back of the plane,
So it's kind of like
paraglider. Paraglider.
It's kind of like seeing a picture of Mike with his very first sound card and like where he's at now, right?
Right. No kidding, right?
It is crazy how fast they went from the Wright Flyer to like a DC-3.
30 years.
Progress of that was just insane.
So everybody seems to be gathering on the hill. So join the gang, everybody.
What does the thing say?
That's cool. So when DH gets there, when he does the 5-hour journey, you guys, we're gonna give him some airtime here on the stream.
Faith in commemoration of the conquest of the air.
Oh, so maybe they're not up on the hill. Where are they?
What hill?
No,
I'm
I
up
thought
here on
I
the
thought they were
monument.
up by the monument, but I guess they're over
Yeah,
at the.
Well, they
At the
were
air-
until I got up here. They all ran away.
Yeah, P Delta and Krabby, exactly that. What a life. Witness all of that.
No kidding. Well, you guys, this has been the Orville Wright's birthday bash, Aviation Week celebration, and this kicks it off to start the whole week. Tomorrow, the Microsoft official channel will start their first circumnavigation around the world, and this was our contribution toward it. And hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have anyone who's interested in what we did here today, then by all means send them over to the VOD and let them have a look. Give us some comments. A lot of effort went into it from many people. Matter of fact, the whole ForderLearnToFly crew worked at getting this all working technically. The poster here you're seeing is being done by Ace, of course. We call him our art department now. He also did the announcement at the start where it announced me, and that's actually pretty cool because he's always got that radio voice, you guys. The overlay is something I was a labor of love putting this all together and all its pieces. Tricky part was putting the backgrounds behind us. I've always been able to put faces inside circles or squares, but getting that background back in there too behind us is actually pretty cool. So there's 3 different layers there in each one of our live feeds there. And the best part, I think, isn't just that vintage car in the bottom left corner, but I think the best part here is the actual border. That border was a labor of love too. So all these things we contributed to make it happen, and then we convened yesterday to talk about what technical issues I was having and how to solve them. And Ace jumped right in there and helped me co-direct the thing, and Mike contributed with his sound knowledge, and everybody just pitched in and made it all happen. So today happened because it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a whole team at ForderLearnToFly to pull off something like this, and we just enjoy the fact that we can share it with you guys. So thanks you to everybody for coming.
Nice, Super Tag.
We take a look at what Heisenberg's put together here. It was all started from that. He gives us the theme. He gives us an idea what he's going to do. The art department kicks in, and the overlay department kicks in, and everybody starts contributing to make this all happen. The moderators contribute information and keep things clean on the channel. And it's just a group effort, you guys, and it's our pleasure to bring this to you. So thanks a bunch. Yeah, Krabby, it's I asked everybody to be patient. We'll get it because we persevere. We're just going to make it happen. And the quality of the stream just keeps getting better, you guys, and the variety is just awesome. I want to mention next week we have Maddie Lynn leading us in East Tennessee. She's going to be the lead pilot. She'll be leading us from an Xbox. She'll be able to send us by Discord what she's looking at, and we'll have her on voice. And hey, I've got to make a whole new overlay. Not sure what that theme should be, but I'll start with a view of East Tennessee, and we'll see how it goes from there. We'll be meeting during the week to figure out the technicalities, and we'll see you guys on Saturday for that group fly. This Tuesday, it's all about VORs and holding with wind, in the sense of an aviation, holding with wind. So, the whole idea is that if you've ever tried to hold on a fix, you'll notice that you get blown away by the wind. You've got to put in correction. There's formulas. There's all that fun stuff. And I'm going to bring that to you on Tuesday. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll see you on the next stream. I want to do a big, huge thank you and round of applause to Heisenberg for sparking this whole thing from the beginning. So congratulations. Way to go, Heisenberg.
Yep, good job.
Thank you, Heisenberg.
Thank you.
Heisenberg.
Your wish is my command, Howard.
Such a great addition to the team. Thanks a lot for being a lead pilot in our streams.
Thanks for having me.
Heisenberg came in and did that twice. I mean, we all did it twice, but he's the guest, and he came back for a second day to get this thing right.
I need an aspirin and a stiff drink.
Yeah. Let's all head over to the Wright brothers hangar and raise a glass in celebration. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and thanks for hanging in there for this length of time. It's been our pleasure at ForderLearnToFly. We'll see you again soon in the next stream. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Right.